17th, 2023 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let the record show that all board members are here. Mr. Forehand representing Madison, Mr. Black representing Western Caroline, Mr. Seeley representing Bowling Green, Mrs. Long representing Port Royal, Mr. Underwood representing Reedy Church, and I'm Floyd Thomas representing Mattapanai. I have asked Mrs. Long if she would lead us in an invocation, followed by the pledge. If you'll please stand.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you for bringing us here safely tonight. We ask that you lead us to right decisions for the county. We ask that you watch over everyone as they travel home and bring us all together again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Opening board comments. Mr. Forehand, do you have any?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black, opening board comments?
Yeah, I just have one. Just want to take time to discuss, and I mentioned it at the board meeting at the end to Dr. Fells, the issue that we continue to have around the county, and I know Mr. Schiebel is doing a good job with it, but with the trash. Our roads, the side of our roads do not look good. There's trash strewn all over the roads, and it's countywide. And it does not make a good impression when people get off to gas up or visit. It just doesn't make us look good. And I think we're gonna have to get together and figure out a way that we can deal with this. Whether it's the education piece, a fining piece that involves the sheriff's office, but I think we're going to have a bigger discussion because no matter how much trash we pick up, I think Mr. Whiteman said that down on Sparta Road this weekend, they picked up 76 bags of trash in a few miles. 100 bags of trash. That's unacceptable. We pick up Ladysmith Road, and a few hours later, there's already pieces of trash. I had a citizen call me that on the corner of Goose Hill and Ladysmith, they had a box spring and a mattress thrown out on the side of the road. That's unacceptable. And we're going to have to figure something out because it just does not, it's frustrating to the citizens of that area that are law abiding and doing what they're supposed to when they're getting calls like, I don't want trash on my property. I understand. And it's going to take a whole county effort. And I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to start and sit down with Sheriff Mosier, school system, and a lot of other entities involved and figure out how we can tackle this because it is not good for any of us here in the county. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Seeley?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Long?
Just a couple of things. First, I want to thank the school science department for the STEM competition. Last week, I got to go and see some of the projects the kids have done. And they're so creative, and it's just so refreshing. And it was nice to hang out with Ms. Carlson and some of the other teachers and be there for the morning. So thank you for including me. I also attended at Mattapanai Barnes. They had a wedding expo, which I think is the first time we've ever had one over there. And so I went and said hello to the staff and walked through and talked to people who were there. And it was very well done, and they had a nice turnout. So I just wanted to share that we are up and coming with all sorts of little events. And as spring comes, I think there'll be more and more things coming about. So do take part. As far as the trash goes, it is, I agree, it's trouble. And we have trouble finding people to hire who will walk the roads and pick up trash. And your taxpayers pay for those people to pick up trash. So train your family well, because your tax money is paying for every piece of trash that has to be picked up or disposed of. So educate your children, and let's try to keep this beautiful land that we are blessed with in Caroline County respectable and as beautiful as it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Mr. Underwood?
I get nervous when Mr. Black starts off with the same comment that I had about litter. We usually don't think alike, so. But
The end is near?
the end is near, I think. But I have to agree that litter is becoming a major issue on our major thoroughfares, and it's the county residents that are throwing trash on our side roads. You know, our travelers are on Route 30 and Route 1, but when you go down Route 652, or you go down Dry Bridge Road, or these are the people that live on these roads who are traveling these roads. That's the citizenry. We're gonna have to try to find a way to police littering, because it is an ugly thing. I want to thank Mr. Schiebel and his staff for going out there, and I know on Signboard Road, there was 62 bags of trash waiting to be picked up that they had put in the orange bags. It's just unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. If we all could just redouble our efforts as springtime is coming, we're going to be outside more. Hopefully that we can alleviate this problem, but it is a problem, and that is right now it's an epidemic. So we need to do all we can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Mr. Sealy, you said you had one you'd like to mention.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that I have constituent meetings starting on the 16th at Shiloh Baptist Church in Bowling Green, March 23rd at St. James Baptist Church on Sparta Road, and March 30th at Macedonia Baptist Church.
Thank you, Mr. Sealy. I'm going to try not to have the end come as quickly as possible, but I would concur with the trash issues. So we'll move on to amendments to the agenda. Mrs. Hall has recommended that we remove approval of minutes from the consent agenda. Any other changes board members would like to make to the agenda? Hearing none, a motion to adopt the agenda with the removal of minutes would be appreciated.
So
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Mrs. Long, second by Mr. Sealy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. We will move to the presentations portion of our agenda. We have several. The first is the Caroline Historical Society. Mr. Brooks, good to see you. I'll
Good to see
talk and
you.
give you a chance to get your cheaters on.
The history of not using these, it's long gone now. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Wayne Brooks. I'm the immediate past president of the Caroline Historical Society. And I'm here tonight, and also accompanying me is our new president, Kathy McVeigh, our secretary, Dale Brittle, and our at-large director, Tim Terrell. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to start off by thanking you and the board for allowing us this time. I know you've had a busy day and you have a busy evening, so we do appreciate you allowing us this short time. The Caroline Historical Society is entering its 55th year as an official nonprofit corporation whose purpose is stated in our bylaws and the Article 1 mission. And that's to provide educational opportunities for the citizens in the immediate and extended community of Caroline County, Virginia, by collecting and displaying artifacts, recording and distributing historic information, scheduling programs relative to the history of the community, and arranging appropriate field trips to sites of significance in the county. Our humble beginnings began in 1968 with the lease and use of the old jail. And since that time, the Society's collection has grown through generous donations of hundreds of historical artifacts from local families and their extended families afar. Caroline's history ranges from dinosaurs to yesterday's gossip. It seems each week we are presented with new treasures to catalog and display in the museum area. History is about events, facts, who we are, where we came from, and our foundation for the future. In 1999, our organization initiated an annual award. The purpose of this award was to recognize individuals, groups, businesses, or organizations who have made extraordinary efforts in preserving the historic Caroline County. The first to receive this prestigious award was local artist and internationally known Sidney King. He was the first. Through all these years of existence, the longevity of our organization is directly attributed to the in-kind support from the members of the Board of Supervisors. The Caroline Historical Society is eternally grateful for your continuing support, cooperation, understanding, and partnership in preserving our county's history. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Caroline Historical Society, it's my privilege and honor to present the Caroline Historical Society Annual Award for 2022 to the Caroline County Board of Supervisors. The award reads as follows: Caroline Historical Society, Inc. Annual Award presented to Caroline County Board of Supervisors for their outstanding efforts in preserving the history of Caroline County, Virginia for the year 2022. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we'd like to present that award.
I think he's going to come up. I'm not going to ask, but do you have 6? You have 1? Come on up,
I
Mr.
guess I
Brooks.
could split it.
Come on up.
Cut it in pieces.
You don't? Can you take it? I'll just use my phone. Yep. See. Yep. No, we're the same. All right, we're gonna figure out where to stand. Jeffy. Yeah, should be there. Let's do it this way so we can shake hands. All right.
She's got the camera.
Okay, we gotta look at Pam. All right. Why you wanna come right behind me? Go to the corner.
Come this way.
All right. Like. I can move. Yeah.
That light's probably gonna get.
No. All right, thank you. That's my. Congratulations.
Dale, did you get yours?
Get one, you wanna come up and take one?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. The Historical Society, the names will take it.
You want to be in the newsletter, so. Put this in the, oh.
You might wanna go there, Dale, because of the way the lights are.
Okay, you know better than I.
All right, Dale, I can't keep the space pretty that long.
Gentlemen, ladies, may I take another? Sure.
Yeah.
So much light up here, I don't need a flat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, and thank you all.
Spring's coming.
All right.
You don't often have to deal with warrants.
No. I'm taking it home. No, I think we'll put it either in the county administrator's office or the visitor center. Okay, our next one is the Caroline County Fair Report. It's almost time for fair.
It's getting close. You should have in front of you a one-page handout that highlights. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and county staff. I'm Francine Whitaker, president of the Caroline County Agricultural Fair, beginning my 15th year at that, and I think this is the 15th time I've been here to see y'all on an annual basis. But I want to give you highlights on the 2022 year that we had. As we were recovering from the COVID situation that we had all been under, just want to share highlights with you. You can see we were able to do our annual scholarship to a graduating senior at Caroline High School last year. Do I need to stop because the lights are blinking?
No, we're used to that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Something was wrong. Okay, so we were able to award that. We've been doing that since 2013 to a graduating senior from Caroline High, and that is pursuing a career in vocational technical field. Of course, we had our annual fair, June 22nd through 25th, and our theme was Kick Off Your Summer at the Fair. Our attendance was over 10,000 despite a rainy start on that Wednesday, the first day. We had a horrible thunderstorms that day, and our attendance was really low, but we still had about 500 people show up. So we feel like our attendance was great, despite one of our evenings being basically a washout. We did have free admission again for everybody in 2022, trying to get everyone to come out to the fair. So because we do that, we have donation boxes throughout our fairgrounds, and we receive not quite $900 from those donations. Our midway profit is up, what we get from the midway, because more people are coming to the midway. I guess they get free admission, even though our admission was so low. I guess it's a thing, a psychological thing. They're sending more money at the midway, and we get a part of that. You know, our plan is was to feature local talent, which we did. And we had two new things in 2022. We had a lawnmower pool that had over 110 participants. And then we had the Caroline Cornhole League. And that brought in a whole nother group to the fair, which we are very excited about that. Of course, you know, we are about livestock and the children, the 4-H and future farmers. And we had 36 livestock show participants with 28 young children in our Pee Wee shows. And that was a great attendance for that. When years past, it had only been a few kids doing that. So because of the interest, I know this year our livestock committee person, Ms. Coleman, is developing special shows for children ages 6 to 8 this year. They're not quite the 4-H age, but she has enough interest, so she's going to have special shows in our 2023 fair. So we're excited about that. Of course, you know, our fair has the good home goods. Entries were just under 500, but we were excited that we had 46 new participants, people who never come and participated before are entered. So that is very exciting. So the word is out there to come and participate in that. Of course, the Heritage exhibit is a great exhibit. It gets a lot of foot traffic, and we had great attendance in there. We know we had 600 people shell and ear corn at that special interactive display, which was pretty exciting. And then our antique tractors on display. And we hope we're going to have more tractors this year. We've upgraded the contest, so that'll be more exciting. Again, reaching out to the young people, we do sponsor the Beef Market Steer program for 4-H kids, and those kids who show throughout several fairs in our area, they end up at the state fair, and the child who has the most points for Beef Market Steer, we award them a scholarship of $250. And last year's winner was Miss Mitchell, who's from Heathville, Virginia. And we do other things in the community other than our annual fair, which is certainly our big event. But we come to the Harvest Festival with our petting zoo. We have our Fall Fun Festival we sponsor the last Saturday in October, which is more of a tailgate event in which we have people decorate. They get prizes for the most exciting tailgate display. And we had just under 600 participants in that. Of course, one of the things that we're known for throughout the Commonwealth is our Fair Judge School that was developed by our home goods chairperson, Massine Williams, and we do that in collaboration with Virginia Tech and the Virginia Association of Fairs. Now, this has grown tremendously to have certified judges in the state of Virginia who can judge fairs. And she's had several schools in 2022. We got that going again. We always have one at the state convention. And we were invited to go to Rockingham Fair, which is a large fair in the western part of the county, the state rather. And she did a judge school for them, and she's going back there this April. Of course, we do attend the Virginia Association of Fairs convention. We went in January. Because we are all volunteer nonprofit fair, we do attend at our own expense. We had 7 people attend this year. Again, we had the home goods judge school there, and we help with that, as well as some of our members do judges for the youth scholarship program that's going on during that fair. But we were excited this year in that they had a new contest for young people called Ag It Up. And one of our young fair volunteers, Grace Carneal, who's 11, she made a poster, and we took it down there and entered it, and she won 3rd place. So we were very excited about that she won, and hopefully she will participate next year with that. And again, our communications awards. Now, this goes to showcasing all of our publicity stuff, our posters, our flyers, all the things we create, our merchandise, and all of that, which I tell y'all every year, we don't pay an advertising agency to do that stuff for us like other fairs do. We have our in-house person, who is Miss Linda Tate, who's here tonight, and she creates all this stuff that goes out there, as well as handles our website and our Facebook page and keeps that going, which that's how we get a lot of people to come to the fair, with all of that continual marketing things that we do. But we were very excited that we did win 6 ribbons and best in show for our merchandise display, which was best over all fairs. You know, we're a medium-sized fair because our attendance is 7,000 to 30,000 group, but we won over the big fairs too. So that was very exciting for us. So when we go to the state convention, people know about the Caroline County Ag Fair. They know about Caroline County. We have people from other fairs come to our fair each year wanting to see what we're doing here in Caroline. So we feel like that we are put on a good face for Caroline County. And we certainly appreciate you, the Board of Supervisors. You're one of our big sponsors every year. And I hope as you go through your budget process, you'll continue to be a big sponsor for us. We certainly appreciate what you have done for us in the past and what I hope you're going to do for us in the future as well. And you can see we've got this year already getting going. It's June 21st to the 24th. And we hope we'll have no rain. We hope all of you will be there. And the most important thing, too, is we voted back in the fall that we will have free admission for the fair until we change it otherwise, because we feel like we're able to give back to the community. And it's just a very important, and we're doing well with doing that. So we're really glad we're able to do that. I do have with me tonight some of our fair volunteers, because, you know, we are all volunteer. Without volunteers, we would be nothing. We couldn't do anything. So I do want to recognize those people who have come with me tonight. You want to stand? We have Ms. Williams, who does home goods, Linda Tate, publicity, Sissy Coleman, she's our livestock ag chairman, and then Mr. Rollins, who helps all around everything, but he does safety and security and games and everything. So I did want to recognize them, because without volunteers, we are nothing. So
Right.
That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think we have any questions. I think Mr. Seeley and I were the only 2 crazy people who were there Wednesday last year.
I know. I was yes, but thank you. Come this year. We aren't able to get the Navy band this year. They were already booked up, but maybe we'll get them for 2024. But again, thank you.
Thank you.
And look forward to you being a sponsor and continuing on with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I didn't think I saw Mr. Bates, but he just stood up so I could see him. So our next presentation report is the VDOT report. And we have Mr. Kyle Bates, who is our resident and always does a great job.
All right, Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the board, thank you all for having me tonight. I'm going to go through the VDOT report just to give you an update on some of the ongoing projects and kind of where some of those things stand. So the first project I'm going to update you on is Route 639 Ladysmith Road widening. That project, as you all very well know, it was awarded to J.L. Kent & Sons, and they are well underway on that project. I just make everybody aware there will be a traffic shift on Route 639 Ladysmith Road, and that is going to be around the spring time frame. Before that happens, there will be plenty of alerts and plenty of message boards to let everybody know what's going on. That is expected to be completed in summer of 2024. The next project, which is ongoing, is Route 652 over Polecat Creek, the bridge replacement. That bridge deck has been poured and is currently curing. They are actively working on pouring the wing walls, and that is expected to be completed by Abernathy Construction in summer of 2023. They are looking at the month of July to be finished. And they're even looking a little bit sooner than that when I talked to some people today. So they're well ahead of schedule on that project. On Route 1 over the South River, I know we've gotten a lot of comments on that one here within the last week on the riding surface on Route 1 in that area. I will let you know the contractor is aware of them. They're going to be fixing them this week. So that is the project to mill between around 8 inches of asphalt off of Route 1, which is a huge dead load on the existing bridge. We're looking to mill that off and keep from having to post a structure on Route 1 with a lot of dead load that sits on top of that bridge. So that one was awarded to Bryant Construction and is now underway. The contractor is on board. The next project here is the US Route 301 and Chase Street project. That was awarded through Smart Scale, $11.8 million. I know there is at this point no work that's begun on that project, and there will be no work until I get a resolution from both the town and the county in support of it. If I don't have that, we will move on without that project. So I'll probably be going to the town within the next 2 to 3 months to present on that to make sure that they understand there's 2 different options that came from the corridor study on 301, which will give some different options as far as turn movements and restrictions that will help improve the safety at that intersection. So we'll give those options to the town first and get them on board with it or not, and then we'll come to the county for support and we'll go from there. The next project here is Route 638. This is preliminary engineering updates. This is Route 638 over South River. This is a project that is scheduled for fall of 2025. This is going to be a full road closure, and that is going to be, the detour is going to be Ladysmith Road out to Page. That should be closed for about a year. As I typically do when we have these bridge closures, we'll make sure we get those in front of school transportation, fire and rescue, all the affected parties, so that they know well ahead of time and can plan their routes accordingly. Next project, we had the rural addition on Shepherd Hill. That has been assigned route number 1016. We completed that in November of 2022, and that road is now in the state system for maintenance. The next project here, we have Route 631 Farmer Drive. That is a project to realign the existing Y intersection is what I'll call it. It's not a technical term, but we'll be realigning that intersection to kind of make a T with the primary route there. So we're looking to use secondary 6-year plan funds for that, and that construction should begin this spring and last approximately 30 to 60 days. And then the other project that is on the horizon via secondary 6-year plan is Route 1008 Caroline Street. We have started the erosion and sediment control in 2023, but the funding to actually complete that hard surfacing is not available until spring of 2026. We are getting ready to go through the secondary 6-year plan, so we'll be coming back to you all within the next few months to go through that public hearing. So there may be an opportunity to move some things around, but we'll get there shortly. The next project, we have the Rural Rustic, Route 680, Rattle Trap Road. That's an existing state road. Environmental work and sediment control plans to begin this spring, construction in spring of 2024. We did verify that is a gravel road in that section, and we will be hard surfacing it. Just some other traffic engineering items. I know that I've gotten these over the last couple months. We got a complaint about Dry Bridge Road, recommending taking a look at some of the curves. We did take a look at some of those curves, and we do need to reinstall some of the advisory signs. There was actually some missing signage, and we need to update some of them. They are not as reflective as they need to be. So we have that going. We have those signs on order, and they will be done this spring. This is the section between 207 and Route 301. And then another traffic engineering update. We have Route 605 Page Road at Route 1. We are working to install advanced warning flashers at that location. Those flashing signs are going to be completed this summer. In addition to that, and this is kind of not just Page Road, but we have also submitted that section of Route 1 for a corridor study, meaning that before Smart Scale next March being the pre-application deadline, we should have a plethora of projects that Caroline County could apply for that are on Route 1 being a high priority route. So that will give some good shelf ready projects that Caroline County could apply for Smart Scale. But Page Road being one of those intersections that we are going to be looking at. And then the last thing I have two things from a maintenance perspective. Last time I was here, these routes have not changed because I came to you all in winter. But we are getting the ATHI loader. We are going to start that operation. So we're looking to do a lot of shoulder work and ditch work. In the board report that you all have, there's a list of 5 routes. Those routes have not changed since the last time I've been here. But we are looking at Jericho Road, Signboard Road, Stonewall Jackson Road, Richmond Turnpike between Bowling Green and Luxstone, and AP Hill Boulevard at various locations. So that is our plan this season, is to get in front of some of these routes that we are looking at for future resurfacing with the ATHI loader and the motograder, to not just get the shoulders, but also get the ditches. And then the last part from a maintenance perspective that I have is the resurfacing schedule. So you all should have a copy of that. That is for our upcoming 2023. There are a couple sections of 95 on there, but some of the other secondary roads that we're looking at, Page Road, Jericho Road, Hewlett, Concord, you can see how some of those routes match the ditching. That is good. We want to make sure that when we're putting down new resurfacing, new surface treatment, asphalt, whatever it may be, that we are providing a good investment and that we are keeping the water off the road for these new resurfacing routes. So, and that's just a few to name. There's a whole list of them in your board packet. So, and that is it for the presentation. But I'm also happy to take any questions or anything you have for me.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. We, for whatever reason, didn't have a copy of your report. I saw you just give it to
I will
Mr.
send
Sadler.
it to you.
So if you could, that'd be great. I think we're going to have some questions regardless. I'll start over here, Mr. Underwood.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bates. How are you? Certainly appreciate the additional signage on Signboard Road, but we're still having an issue with trucks missing the truck stop turning in people's yards.
Yep.
We need signage down that road to prevent that. I mean, it's happening 2-3 times a weekend now.
Yeah, that one came to me just within the last few weeks here. We're talking about making sure that the trucks kind of know the exact route, so they don't miss any turns, if you will. Yeah, we can look at some directional signage, perhaps some route shields, things along that line.
You've got a couple signs up that says turnarounds prohibited in the larger driveways. I was just wondering if you could ask them to put up a couple more of those signs closer to 207.
Sure, let me take a
Mr.
look.
Underwood, I mean, just as a point of reference, what the area looks like has changed drastically the last couple months, and I personally drove by the turn. I wanted to go to Dairy Queen, and it didn't look the same. So I can empathize with the truck driver that's kind of going off memory because it looks very different than what it used to.
It does, a lot of construction.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, we'll take a look at
I
it.
mean, when you said that, maybe it's possible to put a sign at the new Flint building that'll kind of point to that road. I'm not sure they'll, agree, but you've got the right of way to do it.
Okay, let me take a look at it. We'll come up with some kind of a plan and get it to you.
Mrs. Long?
But while we're on that road in that area, I've been at the visitor center and seen trucks pull in and they start to go down, going back toward 95. But then I think they think they're lost because all they see are trees.
Yep.
Maybe we need to put a big I-95 and an arrow just on the road so these trucks know that, if I keep going, I'm going to get where I'm supposed to get. Because I've seen them turn around at that auto place that's right past the visitor center. And I think because they can't see anything until they get up in there that they think they're lost. Just the thought.
I want, we keep those lane designations on the pavement for times where you're going from a turn lane to a turn lane and you have, 95 southbound in this lane, 95 northbound in this lane, Route 1 southbound in this lane. So you make sure you get in the proper lane designation before the turn. Otherwise those are pretty big maintenance costs as well. So what I'd rather do is take a look at some of the route shields, and maybe they need to be more prevalent and maybe they need to be larger. So things like that. That way they kind of trailblazing signs, if you will.
Okay. No, just wanted to let you know I have seen that. I wanted to thank you for the ditch work on 17. They started also in our nice little like to flood area. I'm pretty sure that you all have a right of way there that was bought years and years ago. And I think you need to put a dry well on the other side, but that's up to you and your engineers. But they have not dug those 2 ditches out yet. So before spring weather gets here, if we could get that done. I want to thank you for moving so quickly on Gatewood Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And look forward to getting that it's not resurfaced, graveled or whatever you all do to it this summer. Resurfaced. Okay. This summer. So I thank you about that. And let's see. And also thank you for moving forward and coming up with a temporary safety issue for Page Road and Route 1 until that study can be done.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's wonderful. So I appreciate that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Mr. Forehand?
Well, I concur with Gatewood Road because that's kind of close to my home as well. The no dumping of trash, is that a state sign or is that a local sign? If someone has a cul-de-sac that someone is dumping on this?
We don't typically put those signs up, Mr. Fourier, and I say that because it doesn't help.
They tend to be, they're targets.
They're targets.
They're targets.
People actually dump more trash.
Okay.
Or they'll shoot them. They're also literal targets.
Yes.
Thank you for the Durrett Road. Durrett Road erupted, and they were out there and got that squared away fairly quickly. So that was a good thing. And regarding Route 1 at Page Road, that's also was a concern that I was going to bring up, but it's already, they beat me to it. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, one other thing. You said the lane shift on Ladysmith Road this spring starts in 6 days, and they've had a lot of progress in 1 week. They've laid both layers of their primary, and they just did the crossover asphalting yesterday.
There will be plenty of advance notice. It won't be overnight. I promise you that.
So well, I'm going to say that.
Message boards and a press release to make sure everybody's aware. And
they've done a good job of
they're moving quickly,
and they're moving along. It looks nice. It looks like they're ready to do it tomorrow if they had to. Yeah. So, and they did have a misfortune of about 4:30. The light at Route 1 and Ladysmith Road was letting about 8 cars through, and the traffic was backed up almost to 95.
Yeah, we got with the contractor on that. Okay. And I think they're still having a couple issues when I had a conversation today. So the contractor is responsible for that signal. So we're
I was thinking that the state was still driving that.
No, once the project starts, the contractor is responsible for the signal.
So when 95 is backed up, the
Oh,
state's
we'll
not.
step in.
Okay, that's why I was thinking that y'all had stepped in inadvertently, but you stepped in something else. But okay, that's the contractor. Y'all already addressed that. So, thank you.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, I think I'd contact you on the whole direct road situation, and I really appreciate it because that was driving up, if you were going that back way to the schools, that was horrible. And it was really bad. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Also on the Page Road, again, reiterate, thank you for trying to put a smart scale project together for that, because that's also an issue I know that we've been having with the accidents. You got me the accident data a while ago, and it's not good, you know. Finally, I was going to reiterate what Mr. Forehand said. He beat me to it. It's a continuous problem. So, it's because I've called you about the Route 1, the backup on Route 1 and Ladysmith Road.
Yep.
And I called you on a couple of weeks ago, and you said you got the contractor, I remember, and then
Yep.
you got the contractor out to take care of it. And here we are. I was on my way to New York on Friday, and it was literally backed up to 95.
Don't hesitate to call me, because I
Yeah.
will be transparent with you. When I called the area construction engineer today, thinking that everything was good after we talked weeks back, he said they were still having issues. That was actually news to me. So, I'm going to be setting up a meeting with him to kind of figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
So
because
that's
it literally is on a Friday when I was, we were leaving later in the day, and it was literally traffic that was coming out, and the light wasn't letting people through, and you could see they were barely getting off the off ramp of 95, and I'm like, this is going to back up onto 95, and we're going to have a situation here. So I'm not sure it's something you guys want to deal with. It's just not letting. That light needs to stay. We've talked about that before, even before the construction began. That light, because it's the single lane road, that light, you maximize that light for us is how long it can possibly stay green, because you have the one lane going west, whereas north and south on Route 1, you have the 2 lanes in each direction. So they don't need as much time to go through the area, so that was a good solution for a long time. But anytime that light messed up in any way, it really backs it up big time, and it creates and not only that, but it creates an issue for the businesses too. Like if you're trying to come out of Food Lion and turn right or left, or the Wrights Chapel area, it makes it a very, very difficult turn in the evening time to try to get it out of there, and you can't really see from the traffic going east towards 95. It makes it kind of hazardous. So I would appreciate anything that you can tell the contractor, like, hey, we need to get this fixed ASAP.
Consider it done.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Seeley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Bates. As Mr. Forehand pointed out, spring is in 6 days. Do we know when we'll start Farmer Drive? I've had a couple of folks ask.
I'd say probably around within another 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
I'll get you the schedule as we get a little closer to it, Mr. Seeley.
Okay.
Again, that's one that we'll make sure that we have plenty of lead time so that everybody is aware that it's going to construction.
There are just many people anxious for that to get fixed, because the why is the literal term for that, because it really is. You have to decide which way you're going to go and which way you can see from.
Yep.
Woods Lane Road. It's just before you drop down to Bowie's Pond, heading towards Fredericksburg. As you drive down that, it's probably a half a mile to a creek at the very bottom of that decline. As you're going down, the whole left side of the road, midway down to that creek, is completely obliterated. There's cut trees. It looks like somebody's been in the ditch, or the hill is eroded into it. And when I went through there during the rain, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, we're going to lose the road at some point. VDOT has been in there before, and looks like they put big riprap in. But the ditch is gone, and I don't know what's happened to it. But if we could take a look at that stretch from Route 2 to the bottom of that hill to that creek, the left side of the road seems to be the worst.
Absolutely.
Heading down.
We'll take a look at it this week.
That'd be great. Page Road. I was glad to see today they were actually milling up sections of it. Do you know how much work they're going to do on Page Road? It's just all the work is before the ball field.
Mm-hmm.
and they've milled in some places all the way across. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad to see it. I just didn't know how much more they were going to do, and are they going to resurface the whole road when they're done?
Yep. So Page Road is on tap for resurfacing this year. That is a slurry seal contract, which could be a Cape Seal product. I'd have to verify. But before we do any of that kind of work, we want to make sure that we patch out the worst base areas. So the Page Road, I don't want to say in its entirety, but from South River to Route 2 is looking to get resurfaced. And so before we do some of that work, we're going to go in and patch it. And that's what that is.
So you're not done, I guess is my point.
No,
So is that going to continue for the next, I'm just curious. I travel that way periodically, and today I was surprised. Don't get me wrong, they were doing a great job. I was just surprised.
Yep, they're just getting the base failures. Don't expect that product on the entire route.
Okay.
They're just getting the base failures taken care of now, digging those up, patching those, and then they will come back and resurface the entire section that I just mentioned.
But they are going to go all the way to South River. I mean, with the base, because there are other places that are bad.
No,
I just didn't know how they were going to pick those out.
Yeah, it's base failures is what they're looking at. It depends on how bad the area is. I don't know if they're completely finished with the patching. I can check on that.
That would just be good to know. I just had some folks ask and how much more anybody thought they were going to do in terms of taking that up.
Sure. Let me verify that.
Okay. The end of Sparta Road at St. Stephen's Church, and then it jogs, and I never remember what the name of the road is that it jogs into.
Okay.
But where people are now using ways to cut across from 301 to 17, and they get to that change in the road and they think it's straight.
Yeah.
And we've now had 4 vehicles. I think one the sheriff's office has been to. The rest have managed to get out of there themselves. Is there any way we can look at putting a guardrail there? There is a phone pedestal at the very end of that road where it jogs to I think it's the right. And the phone pedestal is now obliterated.
Guardrail, so people are running off of the road?
They keep going straight because Waze has them going straight, not knowing that Sparta Road isn't Sparta Road anymore because you're heading towards Essex.
So we wouldn't want to put guardrail to stop people from going straight. That's going to be a more of a hazard. But what I can do is take a look at the area and see if there's something else we can do to bring attention. I know where you're at. Is this close to the church there?
It's right. The church parking lot ends on the far end of this, and the road goes to the left.
Right on the corner. The left is passing road.
Yeah, if you make the hard left, you're on passing. If you make the hard right, you're on the road to...
The road to Easter Seals, which is
right.
Whoever now.
Yep. I mean, what we may need to do is we need to bring it to their attention. I don't know if guardrail is going to be the answer. Often, if guardrail isn't warranted, it could cause more of a hazard. But there may be some other things that we can do to bring that to the attention of the motorists, to make whether it's warning signs or some kind of reflectors or
an arrow that says the road goes this way.
Yep, something we can take a look at.
It's just gotten a lot worse in the last 6 or 8 months, and I think it's
what's changed, just the traffic.
I think it's just Waze. I think it's people trying to cut across and thinking, Sparta's so straight, you don't expect the change. Do you know? And I don't know what Waze says,
right?
Because I never look at it going through. I know where I'm going. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't dawn on me to look at what Waze is telling me where you're at, but it is obviously catching people by surprise, particularly at night. I mean, all the ones that I've heard of are at night.
Okay. I'll get with traffic engineering and we'll take a look at it and see if we can bring some attention to it.
All right. Thank you. And that's all I've got.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Mr. Bates, 652 is the cool water drive part of 652 that's going to be done summer, July this year.
At the latest.
Can you tell I'm biting my tongue?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to believe you.
Yeah.
The other thing I have, which is really a safety issue, We need a decel lane at the convenience site in Bowling Green, which is, I believe, Lakewood. There are some issues there that exist. There's a fire hydrant there. It also belongs to the town of Bowling Green. But when you have a truck behind you at 55 miles an hour and you're trying to make that sharp right turn, it's kind of dangerous.
Right.
So I believe we're going to have a discussion with the town of Bowling Green about moving their fire hydrant, and I'm sure you've got plenty of money to put a decel lane there for safety reasons, so I can count on you doing that.
I will take a look at it, Mr. Thomas. It is for the town of Bowling Green's convenience site. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, yes. The one that's on 301, it's the county site.
Even worse. Okay.
What's the better thing?
Well, no, I'm just saying that in that circumstance, it may be something we could partner with the county to take a look at. I mean, the deceleration lane being for their convenience site.
Well, it's for their safety.
Sure.
There's a big difference between convenience and safety. It's really a safety issue. So, I mean, we will, or I will, as a county representative, talk to the town of Bowling Green to see if we can get a cooperative agreement to move their fire hydrant. But once we do that, you would have a clear shot to put a decel lane there.
I'll take.
Or have you already talked to him, Mr. Cully?
No, we will. I think the back road has a long fork comes out onto that from the other side too, and then over there. It's not just us.
Okay. It's not a state road though that we're talking about. We're talking about.
I think it is.
It's got a state.
Lakewood Drive, that's got a state sign.
If we're talking about a state road, now I'm back in the conversation.
Oh, you were going to be in the conversation
All right.
regardless.
Well, I know you were going to make me be.
Yeah. Because we're all in this together. We're going to help each other out.
All right, let me take a look at it then. Convenience.
All right, it is Lakewood. If you're going north on 301, you have to make a right turn with about 50 feet to slow down.
Okay.
And please don't look in your mirror because the truck hasn't slowed down at all.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I mean, we're talking about a secondary road. We are getting ready to go through the secondary 6-year plan. We do have some county safety operational improvement funds.
Right.
We need to put together a plan first, get an estimate, and then.
Plus, it hasn't snowed, so I know there's plenty of money in the snow removal fund.
Okay.
We're good?
Good.
Thank you,
We'll
sir.
figure something out.
All right, the last one I had, which is really quick, and you and I had talked about this before. Well, next to last. The light at Route 1 and 639, when it's not working, we should call you.
Yeah.
Correct?
Call me.
If you want, you can give us the contractor's number and we can call him just to let him know.
I'm the guy.
Okay. All right, then the last one was the yield signs we talked about on 95, the ramp going north from 207.
Yeah, we were looking to make those yield signs larger. I don't know if those have come in. I'll have to double check on that.
They weren't there yesterday.
Okay.
So unless they came in today, but that's something we said we're going to do. I just want to touch base to see where we were.
No problem.
And Mr. Bates, I sincerely do appreciate all of your hard work. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
That's it. Yes, sir.
I just one thing. I talked to Mr. Forehand. Do you mind if I ask one question?
I don't
I don't know if this is a county thing, Mr. Cully, or it's a VDOT thing, but we had talked, we had that controversy last year about the curb and gutter in Ladysmith, and needing to be mowed more than twice a year. Because it looks horrible. So did we ever get a final conclusion on that? We said we were going to bring it back up, Mr. Cully, or?
Yeah, so we're talking about the curb and gutter sections, like manicure mowing.
Yeah, right around, right where the old school is, Ladysmith Road, and then going towards 95. And we had talked about bringing that back up, and I don't know if we've brought that back up. Who would be in charge of?
Well, I can speak to it from the standpoint of we've been working with Mr. Schiebel back there, getting some routes, not just one particular route, but we have a manicure mowing contract that we're putting out.
Okay.
So while VDOT mows 2 to 3 times a year on our primaries and secondaries, if we want to do that more, we can facilitate the work and the county can pay for those additional mowing cycles, and that can be not just one.
Yeah, right. I'm fine with
this
that.
can be anywhere, and that includes litter pickup as well.
Right.
So we're waiting on bids to come back for that. I don't think it's been advertised quite yet, but the idea is that we're going to have that before we need to start mowing a whole lot.
Yeah,
But
Right, well,
we don't know the cost because we don't know what the bids are going to come back as. We've provided the cost from the old contract, but nowadays I don't take anything from old contracts because the cost
Right.
varies so differently.
Can't count on the old
and
contract
there's
anymore.
nothing to say that you have to use it. It's just an added tool if you would like to, and it can be on many, many different routes that Mr. Schiebel has reviewed. And
do you know when that bid will be back?
within the month. Let me verify that and get back with you.
Can you, because we have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, but I was wondering, because we might want to put that, I don't know if we want to
I
put
think that might be a budget item.
Yeah. And, but also put it on our agenda, like what roads we would want done. I mean, 'cause I'm
Right.
sure supervisors have different areas that they would want done.
If that'll work for you, and then we'll work directly with you, Mr. Bates, on that.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Again, thank you, sir. We appreciate your help.
Yes, sir.
Our next presentation is the school board financial report, which is a request to move money from one category to the other. Ms. Stevens, how are you today?
Hello, thank you. Good evening, Chair Thomas, Vice Chair Sealy, members of the board, and Mr. Colley. I'm here to request budget amendment number 3 due to the continuation of extreme increase in our gasoline and diesel prices this year. Our budget is currently $561,080 in the fuel line, based on 3 more months to finish out our 12-month cycle, our 12 payments for the year. I am estimating expenditures to be $875,290, therefore requesting a budget transfer of $325,000 from the instructional lines of health insurance due to the vacant positions that we've had that are filled by subs currently, as well as employees have less employees have elected coverage this year than budgeted the prior year. So we are asking $325,000 from instruction health insurance to transportation fuel line. The school board did approve this request at the last evening's board meeting.
Any questions, Ms. Stevens?
How do we want to act?
We're going to, I guess we should have added this to the agenda, but we'll make that an action item as part of the agenda.
Okay, and then you want to do the reversion too, the one we had talked about? No, because we didn't do that either.
No, we'll do both of those separately.
Okay, yeah, but I'm saying, do we want to, because I don't think we added that to the agenda.
No, we didn't add either one, but we're going to add those when we get to new business.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Stevens.
Thank you.
Mr. Underwood, did you have a question? Your line was on. Okay. All righty, Mr. Cully. Mr. Cully's coming forward at this time to present the county administrator's proposed budget for '24. This is not the final budget. This is not the final budget. This is Mr. Cully's first budget iteration. There will be several work sessions with the Board of Supervisors and some other departments before we get to the final budget. So again, this is the first one. Mr. Cully.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I blew my PowerPoint up coming out of a project meeting and right before our last meeting. So this was a PDF version that I had saved that Mrs. Smith was able to make a few changes in. That's when it blew up. So it's not PowerPoint, it's a PDF. So we're going to kind of slide through this with David running the PowerPoint as soon as he turns the lights down so I can actually see it. Joey.
Can you get the lights for us?
There you go.
There we go.
Good, you stood up. That's all I needed.
Yep. he's got
You
the
might
lights
need the
on.
room lights, but I don't know if anybody can see with it all on. All right, go ahead. Do y'all have it? Y'all should be able to see it. Go ahead. Wait. The proposed FY24 general fund budget is increasing $4,633,203 from FY23. That's to $63,888,809, which is an increase of 7.8%. Next. All right. Now, like I did last year, what makes up most of this increase? Next. Major increases to the 24 budget. The number one increase to the 24 budget is increase in transfer to utilities, which is the Utility Enterprise Fund in the amount of $1,356,036, which is 21.4%. What this is made up of, and you'll see this in where they rank out in the actual numbers, and I forgot my water. I'll get that in a second. We have recommended a decrease in the utility connections with the things that are going on in the economy with interest rates and housing. Thank you, sir. We're projecting less utility connections. We really, and Mr. Fincham could tell you this, we really only have one neighborhood, Pendleton, that's active and getting permits at this time. So that's a 30% decrease, which is 13.2% of the changes to the general fund, or just that decrease in revenue in the enterprise fund, which I have to make up in a transfer in the general fund. So while it's not new spending, it's a new increase in a transfer. The other thing that hit us, if you remember, we borrowed $20 million for the interceptor pipe. Well, that debt service is causing an increase. It's really 600 and some thousand an increase, but I got some other debt that went down. But it's a net increase in utility debt service of $446,122 or 7%. So when you take the declining connections on top of an interest rate, on a debt service payment, that makes up $1.3 million increase in transfer right out of the general fund to utility fund. Number two, we didn't get the SAFER grant we applied for, and we hired 19 new firefighters. It was only 2 localities in the state of Virginia that got any SAFER money. So while that's not necessarily an increase, it's a loss in revenue. And part of it is we only funded those people in last year's budget. Most of them are only a quarter. Most of them were just hired and are coming on board for April 1. So that the increase is what those 19 positions are going to be in the general fund, but with no revenue to match that. So that's the number 2 big expense that's going on in the budget this year. Number 3 was one of those utility ones, so don't worry about looking for that and then put it in because I've already covered it. The number 4 increase, the increase of school operation fund transfer of $824,416 or 5.1%, and it's a 13% of the major fund increases to the general fund. Number 5 is proposed 6% or minimum $1.75 per hour for non-public safety county employees. This equals $553,714, and it's 8.7% of the major increases to the general fund. We have 10 new public safety personnel, which equal $487,554 for 24, and that's 7.7% of the major increases to the general fund. I will add, and it's coming up later, just so those are grant funded, and we would not propose hiring 9 of those. Only one of those are we proposing. It's not grant funded to hire if we don't get the grant. So that's more of, if we get the grant, we would hire them. But if we don't get the grant, we will not. That's also SAFER grant. Number 7, and I already covered that, so it's just the same number presented in a different way, is that increase in utility debt is 7% of the changes to the general fund, just that one number alone. That went over it before, I won't read it again. Increase to the public safety pay plan. Remember, we created a pay plan for all public safety employees with steps, which are not part of the county regular employees, and that is a step plus 4, which equals that 6 on the other side, $385,563 or 6.1% of the major increases to the general fund. Health insurance, number 9 is increase of health insurance amount of $339,394, and it's 5.4% of the major increases to the general fund. Number 10, increase to VRS. And remember, we just included 1.85% multiplier for public safety. And so that is $283,461 or 4.5% of the increases to the general fund. Jails, increase for regional correction institutions. And this is one of those things that's just a hand-me-down number from what we get from both juvenile and our regular jail, $254,637 or 11% increase in that line item, and it's 4% of the major increases to the general fund. Seven new FTE positions for 233,403, and that's 3.7% of the major increases. And I'll go over what those are in another slide. The increase just for health insurance for the 10 new public safety employees is 167,286, and that's 2.6% of the increases to the general fund. 14 is increase for FICA for everybody, 152,306. You go ahead and I'll read all of them. Just a breakout number right now, and everything, just like last year when I stood here, the General Assembly has not adopted the budget, and there are proposals for mandated 5% constitutional office employees. So if that does go through, that's about $97,000 of mandate. Whether you do anything with the compensation or not, we've got to match that. That's built into that 6%, so it's not an additional. But if you weren't to do that, that is $97,000 that you'd be mandated to do by the state. Increase in health insurance and that should be 7. That was one of the things we were trying to change in my PowerPoint and I missed, is 82,000 for the health insurance, which about 1% of the increase. And the other thing that's sort of mandated, and it's already included in the public safety pay plan and in the regular general increase but I had to break this number out so you would know, there is a mandated 5 to 7%, depending on which budget you look at, for sheriff's deputies. And those would be the comp board ones, but this would be what it would cost to do all of them, I think. Not just the comp board ones, just like it is with all the other comp board, non-comp board. I have the same people doing county 100% funded jobs, but that would be mandated. Even if you did away with everything, we would have this mandate if the state adopts in that range, the 5 to 7%. We do have one new part-time position. It's about $25,476. So that's just to put that in. It's not really any major increase. And an increased transfer to social services of $25,325, which there again is about a 3.8% increase in that line item and a 0.4 of the general fund. So that should be close. One lucky number that I put in I wanted you to see is because of increased revenues in meals tax, because of course to go out to a restaurant now, what used to cost you $10 cost you $25, and we're taxing on that based on percentage. We're gaining on meals tax. And so meals tax goes right in as one of those things that pays debt retirement. So we even though our debt numbers are going up, I have more revenue in. Also interest, any of you have any money in the bank, know that you're making a whole lot more in the last 3 months, 4 months than you were making for the last 5 or 6 years. So with the money we do have in various reserve accounts and fund balance, we are making a fair amount of interest, which also some interest is going into that account as well. So we have some increased revenues, which has lowered the transfer to debt retirement, even though our expenditures in debt retirement haven't gone up. We had 10 full-time positions were requested. I proposed 7 full-time positions. We had 10 public safety positions requested. I proposed 9 fire and rescue and 1 animal control deputy. We are, and the sheriff can come support this if needed, being really overrun with animal control calls. We have a fair amount more citizens living in a lot tighter areas as our neighborhoods continue to grow. It's really overwhelming some of the folks that are working there. They've asked for that position for a number of years, but I did recommend we fund that this year just due to sheer call volume. And how that breaks down, 5 FTE positions are converted from part-time. 1 in the plant commissioner's office, he wants to convert somebody that currently is working part-time into a full-time, and that's in DMV. 1 is in the registrar's office. It's a part-time position. The registrar's asked for this position to be converted to full-time for about 4 years, maybe, or longer. 1 is in general properties as grounds maintenance. 1 is in the planning department, and 1 is in public utilities. So the planning departments and utilities, all those were part-time people. So those are not full-time pickups. Yes, it's full-time with you picking up some health insurance potentially and BRS. But right much of their salary was already covered because they were working here part-time. So they're not really new positions. They're just full-time instead of part-time. So out of those 7, there are 2 positions proposed. 1 is in the commissioner's office. That's what he calls a tax examiner's position that he wants to create. He's got a fair amount of shifting that he believes will be taking place in his office over the next year. and then one is in the finance department. The audit did recommend 2 more people in our finance department, that we were extremely understaffed, so I couldn't afford both of them. So I did pick off the lowest hanging fruit and added one of those. And then there is one part-time position, as I explained earlier in the numbers, and that's a public works facilities technician. And you'd have to ask Joey exactly. I've already forgotten exactly what that position would do. We did meet on it. And so those are those positions. So while it looks like a lot, the majority of them are either going to be grant funded in the public safety side or were converted from part-time to full-time. Regular non-public safety employees, I proposed a 6% COLA, which is, I know that Hanover and some of the other jurisdictions are proposing 7%, and the state's been waffling around 7%, and inflation's running higher than that. And last year we did this, and it seemed to work really well. Was $1.50 per hour for a minimum. So if you're under 60,000, somewhere in that range, it converts. So you, instead of getting 6%, you would get $1.75. So that does take our minimum range for that. We moved our minimum to $12.50 last year with that $1.50. It'll get us to $14.25, and we will need to be at $15 unless they change that. January of 25, so it gets us closer to that goal if we do the $1.75 this year. And given how inflation is wreaking havoc on some of those lower positions, and to keep those people employed, I feel like that was a fair move. Revenues, the FY24 proposed general fund revenue, $63,888,809. Proposed transfer from unrestricted fund balance, $2,585,561. That is increasing by $1,372,474. 100%. We've been fortunate in the last few years, had a low number. I think we probably will take out of the fund balance this year. If we have the, we may take out a little bit this year, but I think we'll definitely take out in 24. But you're without a tax increase, there's no way we're sort of really around that. We've been fortunate. We got some new buildings and some revenue. We've included revenue for world-class distribution and those type of things. I think our personal property, while you'll see in the next slide as I move to that, the real estate rate, no change. Proposed amounts, $27,463,353, which is an increase of about 1.8 million or 7%. Like I said, a lot of that's just been growth that we've had. It's very fortunate to have a 1.2 million square foot distribution center come online. That building's worth a fair chunk. Personal property, we do we think there's going to be a downturn, obviously, because cars are starting to decrease in value. So it's about $178,378 or 1.4% down in personal property. But we haven't factored in any trucks for the distribution center at World Class Distribution. So that may be a little bit better. Maybe it could be worse. It's hard to know what January, when we do the book next year, January of 24, what used cars are going to look like, because they go down a little bit and then a month later they've gone back up. It's just the car market is so volatile, interest rates, all those things. People can't afford new cars and they're buying used cars. So it's been really hard to get a handle on that. If you move to schools, the school funds requested for the total operations budget, $59,207,036. That was increasing $5,591,057 or 10.4%. Proposed is $55,228,094, increasing $1,612,115 or 3%. For the local transfer, the schools asked the local transfer $20,957,514, increasing $4,803,358 or 29.7%. I proposed $16,978,572, increasing $824,416 or 5.1%. As we move into CIP, the CIP requested on the county side $3,308,928. That's decreasing $1,393,747 or down 32.8%. CIPI proposed $1,975,694, decreasing $2,428,747 or 57.1%. The only thing in the CIP is sheriff fire and rescue vehicles at $1,823,928. And you can guess who's got the bulk of that, given that all his toys cost more. And one infrastructure project, and I'm pretty sure I got this right, and Mr. Shebel can correct me, but I think it's finishing up the roof. We've done some roof repair here, $151,766. So those break down. I'm going to try to finance those vehicles and then transfer from CDF funds to do the project here on the roof. So if you move to school CIP requested $41,223,971, increase in $39,309,462 or 2,053.2%. School CIP proposed $739,221, decrease in $1,175,288 or down 61.4%. It includes 5 bus replacements, $639,221. That's a transfer from the general fund, that's cash. And maintenance and student transportation vehicles, $50,000. That's transfer from CDF. And classroom technology, $50,000 transfer from CDF. As always, like to thank the special help from especially Tamika Smith, Finance Director, Mr. Parton, Deputy County Administrator, and Mike Fincham, Planning Director, for all this help in putting the budget together. And one more. The budget has not been advertised. Regular meeting schedule for April 11th, 2023 would be at the closest earliest date. We might could do a special meeting in between there, but that's our next regular meeting that it would work. You could do a special meeting on the 18th or the 25th of April if needed. I wouldn't recommend going out that far because adoption is a minimum 7 days required by state code after you've had your public hearing. The tax rates can be adopted at the same meeting as the public hearing. So if you had the public hearing on the 11th and we're not advertising any tax rate hikes, we could get that information to the Commissioner of Revenue, who could then prepare the books and turn that over to the Treasurer's Office so the tax bills could go out as soon as possible. It's always important for it allow as much time for the tax bills to be processed and mailed out. You can remember in the fall, and I can't explain exactly all of it, but the company that did that mailing had some sort of issues with every county, and all the bills were late. So I'd rather be in the queue and get those mailed out sooner rather than later on everybody that's billing early, June bills. Not everybody's on twice a year tax collection where most people are on that December 5th one. So it probably was more problem in the fall than would be in the spring, but I would recommend we be as early as we can setting the tax rate and get that information. So that's what I have in my presentation. I would gladly answer any questions. Obviously, we're going to have a work session, and we'll advertise if you think that's a good date.
Okay. Does the board wish to give Mr. Cully direction as to having April 11th as our budget public hearing? Which that's the date you said was the earliest and recommended by staff.
Closest earliest. That's the staff recommendation. Yes.
Yes. No, I think we're going to give general consensus. If there are no objections, we're going to go ahead and say that the April 11th date is good for you, Mr. Cully. Which probably means we'll need to, at the end of our meeting, when we talk about calendars, we'll try to pick a date or two for our first work session, and then we can go from there. All right. Are there any questions of Mr. Cully at this point? I know this is the first time we've all seen it, so we'll have questions during the work session. Thank you, Mr. Cully.
Or before.
All right. Appreciate it. That takes care of all of our presentations. I'm actually running a little bit behind, but if we could, let's do 2 and 3. Number 2 is appointments. The board has asked me to be on the Fredericksburg Regional Alliance, and Dr. Gullickson from Germanna is on there. And when we met a couple of weeks ago, she asked about a new member from Caroline. Mr. Fortune wanted to resign right away and wasn't able to without a replacement. And she's given a letter for Reverend Joy Minor, who is, I believe, in Mr. Forehand's district. And if there's no objections, I'll ask for a motion to proceed with appointing her.
You want to make that motion, Mr.?
Do they know each other? Do they know each other?
Yes. Mr. Fortune and Mrs. Minor? And Dr.
No.
Gullickson? They all know each other.
Germanna, president, and Miss Minor.
Yes.
Okay. Just seems odd that someone's requesting someone to be on a.
I believe she substituted for Mr. Fortune when he couldn't make it, and she was very impressed. So,
All right.
Mr.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Miss Joy Minor to the Germanna Community College Board.
Second.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Forehand, seconded by Mr. Underwood. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. It can be effective immediately. Consent agenda. Is there anything from the list of items on the consent agenda board members would like to remove? We've removed the minutes already. So B through K.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of item A. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion too carries unanimously. 7:30 is when we do public comments. Would you like to do public comments now and then take a break, or take a break and then do public comments?
Public comment first.
Do public comments now? It's 7:30. This is the time when the board has allowed public comments from citizens for almost any matter. Oh, you want to get a head start? Okay. Come on up. What we will do is allow citizens to speak on any subject that is not a public hearing. We have no public hearings today, so it's almost wide open. Please state your name, your voting district. Do not state your address, just your voting district. And you will be given 3 minutes.
My name is Laura Marks. I'm from Western Caroline. I'm here tonight to give you, all of you and the community, an update on the Caroline Cavaliers Football Club, which sponsors and supports all the needs and wants of the Caroline High School football team. Just wanted to let everybody know what we're doing in the county right now. On March 25th, our football players will be out doing Bowling Green cleanup, cleaning up trash along Bowling Green. So, it would be a good thing to maybe contact coach or talk with us about getting them to do community service around the county because they are looking for more community service things to do. We have a vendor and yard sale event at Caroline High School on April 22nd from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We invite everybody to come out and shop. We have over 30 people signed up for the event at this time. It'll be in the front parking lot of the high school. Then in May, we will have our annual car wash with a fish fry and Lady Smith. And then we also have on August 4th, we have a Caroline Cavs Classic Golf Tournament scheduled at Mattapani Springs Golf Club, which we are accepting registrations for foursomes on that. And as of to date, we have raised this year $7,407.70, which includes the fee that we charge to have a spot at the high school for the yard sale. We have subtracted $5,250 from that for the black uniforms, which has left us with $2,157.70 to go towards the blue jerseys that we're still looking to purchase. And the purchase price for those are $4,500. So we spoke with Paul, and he has told us that we could even do delayed billing on that as well. So if we come up with half of it to get them now and do delay billing and do more fundraisers to get it, so the bill can be paid in the fall. So that's what we're working on right now. So if the county or if the public sees us out and about, help us out. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marks. And if you folks approaching, if you'd like to just have a seat in the front so you don't have to stand. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Ruane. I am an employee of Caroline County Department of Social Services for approximately 2 years now. I am not a resident of the county, but I do work for the county. I would like to speak in regards to the proposal to change the designation of the board from an administrative designation to an advisory designation. In anticipation of this proposal, me and several of my colleagues have actually drafted a petition that I would like to read to this board now. We, the following employees of Caroline County Department of Social Services, hereby make it known our collective dissent of the proposal to amend the governing board of our agency. It has come to our attention that some members of this Board of Supervisors argue that our governing board should be amended from its current administrative designation to an advisory designation in order to have a more direct hand in our day-to-day operations. Historically, across various localities in the Commonwealth of Virginia, such categorical changes only occur when an agency and its respective leadership are underperforming in their expected responsibilities. We believe that our numbers speak for themselves. We pride ourselves in consistently being ranked in the top percentages across all various program areas when compared to our sister agencies throughout the state. This is a reflection of our leadership and the autonomy it is provided by this Board of Supervisors. The decades-old research is clear. Employees and agencies that are over-monitored and or over-regulated underperform. In a field with an already alarming rate of turnover, we implore this board to consider the negative repercussions of voting in support of the proposed change. The employees that sign below do so as a formal gesture of their desire to retain their current administrative designation of the board. It should be noted that 31 of Caroline County Department of Social Services' 34 employees have signed this petition. That makes a 91% majority that have signed this petition. It should also be further noted that 13 of those employees, making up 38% of the signers, are also residents of this county and constituents. Real quick, if everyone here from Caroline DSS who has signed this petition would please stand to show their support of keeping the designation of this board as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Hi, good evening. My name is Olivia Dillon, and I am thankful for this opportunity to address you. I am the supervisor of the services unit at Caroline County Department of Social Services. I've been an employee there for 9 years. Every day when I drive to work, I drive through 3 other localities that make up the Planning District 16. 2, which are historically and consistently understaffed with vacancies, riddled with excessive vacancies. I continue to make the drive because I am invested in our children and our families that we serve, and because of the leadership and the support that we receive from our Board of Social Services and our director. One agency that I drive through daily is operating currently at a 50% staffing in the Child Protective Services unit and in the unit that serves our foster care / adoption. What I think is important to note is I'm not one to brag, but given a forum, I'd like to take a moment to brag on my unit and what we've done in the last 3 years. So in the last 3 years, our services unit has been fully staffed. We've had 1 turnover, and that person went to another position within the agency, and we were also able to add a new full-time person. Despite the trying times of the COVID pandemic, our unit completed 10 adoptions of children out of foster care into permanency. We also had unprecedented changes to the child care subsidy program and a drastic increase to the amount of applications. We went from 72 child care cases in March of 2020 to 143 child care cases right now. Each application, now keep in mind, those are only the approved applications. So each application, whether approved or denied, was done so in not one single application exceeded its time standard set by the state. Our CPS unit consistently performed above the minimum state standard that was set for all agencies, which would be, I'm speaking to our critical outcomes measures, which is the timeliness in which our workers respond to meet with victim children and closing our cases on time. These repeated outcomes of excellence and safety would not be possible and would not be achieved without the leadership and support that our board of Social Services and our director affords us. And I do understand that change is hard, but it kind of leads me back to, if it's not broken, I don't understand why change it. Our numbers speak for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. Next.
Hello, friends. My name is Joanna Carter, and I operate a nonprofit here in the county. I have partnered last year and this year with Antonio Clinkscales and Lifeway Services on providing a summer program for at-risk youth. And we're here, he's actually at a funeral today, but I'm here in our behalf asking for a financial assistance for that program for the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024 if possible. Currently, we operate the summer program using our personal funds, and it, although successful, is a little bit lacking in our total view for what we could be offering. We anticipate probably about 80 students this summer. We're going to serve 4 churches 2 weeks at a time at each one of the corners of the county, where any number of students up to a maximum of 20 will be able to participate in the summer camp program for 2 weeks. We're going to do field trips, 1 field trip each week, with hopefully a culmination at the end of the summer with a sleepaway experience at the Pocahontas State Park. I work on the behavior planning for the students. We work with at-risk youth in trying to increase their capacity to relate to one another and decrease physical aggression, decrease crisis response, and also to provide them with a way to use non-physical conflict resolution skills. I have also compiled for you all, in interest of time, a notebook, and there's a flyer in there for each of you so that you can review. And at such a point in time, if you'd like us to come back, we can answer more questions. Also, in the event that financial assistance is not accessible or an option, we also are requesting the possibility of a resolution from the Board of Supervisors indicating your support for our efforts, as many of the grants that I apply for require municipal backing so that they're not compounding services and different things like that. So if we could receive a letter of support from you, that would be huge. We thank you so much for your support.
Before you go, Ms. Carter, what
Yes, sir.
is the amount you're requesting in that folder?
That is for $10,000 for each summer. He's requesting 2 fiscal years for a total of $20,000.
Okay.
But any amount would be appreciated. We thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Was that in the budget? Did you make a budget request of Mr. Cullen?
I put forth the email to the chairman. The chairman forwarded me to the county planner, and he has indicated to me to come and present that today.
All right, thank you.
Are you guys a 501c3?
Yes.
You are? Okay, thank you.
Any more
Thank you,
questions?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak as part of public comments? Oh, this is like school. Take one and pass.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Sean Kiger. I live in the Western Carolina district, and I'm a member of the Social Services Board. And I would like to share some thoughts as a Social Services Board member as you consider changing the board from an administrative board to an advisory one. I would like to encourage you to consider keeping the board the way it currently is. My first reason for that is the board is working the way that it is now. I would remind you that each of you chose us as board members to serve. I assume that you took into account the skills needed to serve on the board as you were choosing. The board has not asked for a change. Staff has not asked for a change. The Director of Social Services has not asked for a change. And Mr. Cully made it clear in our joint meeting that he also has not asked for a change. So why is a change being considered when those closest to the agency are not asking for one? How am I failing to administer the agency? How am I and the other board members not fulfilling the task that you have asked us to do. Making this change also seems like a way to have less transparency on the governing of the agency. Currently, the board is run by citizens of Caroline County, and our meetings are open to the public for anyone to come and to hear and to ask questions. Changing the governance to the county administrator takes away the opportunity for the public to hear reports and to ask questions. I believe ultimately that this change will also cost the taxpayers more money. If I was the county administrator and I was asked to supervise a new agency and 35 more new employees, I would most certainly ask for a raise for myself and my staff. Please be clear with the public how we as board members that you chose are failing at administrating the agency and why this failure is worth spending more of the taxpayers' money. Another important point to make clear is that this change will not change the HR structure of social services. As a non-deviating agency, our local social services must follow the HR policies of the Virginia Department of Social Services. That will not change by changing this board. If an employee has an HR grievance, that employee will still need to follow state regulations and go through state HR. So again, ask, why make this change? Why have less transparency, cost the taxpayers more, and ultimately change nothing? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Betty Washington Brown. I'm on the Social Service Advisory Board, Administrative Board. I'd like to know the purpose of causing an uproar when the board is being ran fair. 10 years or maybe more than that, there were problems with the board. Y'all didn't act then to change it. So what is your purpose now for changing it? Do someone have a personal vindictive against someone else or what? I just don't understand. If it's running good, why mess it up? And I do expect to get an answer from the board, not tonight, but if it's running good, why should you go and want to change something and make other people unhappy? Is it because you're not comfortable in your own skin? Or what? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. I appreciate the applause, but it's not allowed because if we allow applause, we have to allow other things. So in the future, if you could refrain from expressing, I'd appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Karen Mason. I am from the Madison District, also on the Administrative Board of Social Services. And I believe the previous speaker is speaking on behalf of keeping that board as an administrative board, who pretty much summed it up very well. The woman who spoke from the agency, speaking of the numbers, is correct. The numbers speak for themselves. Wendy and Ann do a very good job of running the organization. Another statement is, if it's not broken, don't change it. And I am very much in support of keeping it as administrative board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of public comment?
Hi, Ann Middlebrook, Reedy Church District. Here representing myself and also several of my neighbors, and a few of them are here. So we've been asked in the past to be organized, and maybe we would get a little bit more than the 3 minutes since we're speaking collectively through one voice. But we are prepared to pass off the script if we need to. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys each a copy of the write-up, because we understand that this is up for vote. The concert series permit is up for vote tonight without a hearing. We also did not have the chance to have a meeting like we have in previous years. So we're, here to give you guys our feedback. Hopefully it makes a difference before you take it into consideration for tonight. There's a few particular points of the permit package that we wanted to address. The first is around the very beginning of the package in the discussion paragraph around neighborhood concerns. It mentions that that the 2021 and 22 events generated neighborhood concerns primarily with noise, though no events at which noise was metered at an occupied dwelling violated the decibel limit of the permit. So there are, first of all, several concerns besides noise. And there's also one related to the noise, being that the 65 decibel limit we learned last year is too high. So once we heard and understood what 65 decibels sounded like, we can tell you that that is too loud and that still is disturbing to us at our properties. The other thing is that was not addressed in the concerns is around the base, and we are not receiving any measurements of the base. We are being told that it cannot be measured, or we are not measuring it. So, throughout 2022 season, even when the decibels were brought down to 65, we still had a problem with the base. And that is actually more disturbing than the decibels, to be honest with you. That vibration, you can't drown it out with the TV or anything. It vibrates your body, it rattles your windows. It really needs to be 100% mitigated. And then this leads to disruptions in sleep. So, don't need to say a whole lot about it, but generates anxiety and all kinds of things. I mean, this is it's serious for us that we are getting up in the morning. These concerts, they keep us up at night. And the traffic leaving keeps up us. It's noisy as well. So, we have to get up in the morning and keep our day. That's very disruptive. In a lot of days of disrupted, it takes days to get over that. We have internet connectivity issues. I think you all know probably we don't have broadband in our area. So a lot of us are relying on the cellular service. And when all those people come into town when they come into town for the concerts, they are on their phones, as you know they are. They're texting pictures and whatever, and it sucks the internet service, and we cannot stream. We've had loss. I mean, my phone goes to SOS sometimes, where that's the only call I could make. And that's not just me, it's all
Ms.
my
Middlebrook,
neighbors.
would you hold on 1 second?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you another 3 minutes since you've got 3 people there that would be talking.
Well, it's okay. It won't take me that long, but if need to be, Karen can read the last page.
No, I was going to let you keep reading rather than have people switch. I just wanted to let you know I reset it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lost revenue is also a concern. So we had some instances of that last year where, some of the folks that had businesses and had boarders with their animals, the horses and whatnot, they have lost, people moved off and people lost their jobs, and it just was disruptive. And we've got kind of a new batch of some business in the area that I think we want to be, I encourage you all to, maybe understand what that is. And let's maybe keep an eye on that, because I think it could be really a lot more severe this year if that were to happen. These are new people that have not yet been exposed to the noise. And we were also looking for the collaboration and communication. We were told that we would be emailed and notified of things, of concerts. We thought we were going to be able to have a meeting before, like we did last year with MEP. Nothing. It's just, this is the first time we came to talk about it tonight. And it's in general comments, or public comments, not as part of a hearing discussion. Okay, so those are rehashing our concerns from last year. There's two of the suggested conditions that we're taking exception to, and we would like to have deleted from the permit. The one is number 11, that basically calls for measurement of the noise at the occupied dwelling versus at the property line. Last year, the board declined that option. I think that came up for discussion and it was denied. So we're asking for the same this year. The other one is number 15. So number 15 is addressing the complaints, and it's talking about upon receipt of a valid complaint from I think it says that from somebody at an occupied adjacent property, which one of those people would be me, but that cuts out people who are also affected by the noise. Then a professional third-party noise consultant shall be hired. So we're just, not liking that. We'd like that to just all out be deleted from the permit. But if it does stand in the permit, then we would like to understand more about how that would work. Like, what defines a valid noise complaint? What would be the process for the selection and hiring of the professional noise consultant? What would be the process for that noise consultant to conduct the survey? And how would they account for or take into consideration the varying conditions that we experienced last year, such as the band or the type of music or the atmospheric conditions? We noticed a lot. Some concerts we couldn't hear at all last year. Some were really, really loud. So we know we have a lot of variables that can affect things. And then it says that the study would be done and mitigations would be implemented prior to subsequent events. So what does that exactly mean? What subsequent events would be, like the next season or the next concert, or what does that exactly mean? So we had a lot of questions about that, but we'd prefer for 11 and 15 to just be all out removed. There were some notes in the actual plan of operations that is attachment 1 to the permit that was prepared by Event Makers USA. They are still referencing their experience at Innsbruck. They have nothing in there specific to MEP, and we think that's really inappropriate because we have probably some unique situations at MEP, including that bowl phenomenon where it seems like the noise is just spilling out. So it's going all around. It's going to properties that are located behind the stage and to the left of the stage and on the right of the stage. And they've got a lot of, I listed some of the specific kind of questionable, misleading statements that they have in there, but they make it sound like to a layperson, somebody that picked up that permit, they would really think that, Event Makers USA kind of had it all dialed in and there were no issues. They had control over how they steer the sound and all this stuff, and it's not the case. We know that's not the case. So the summary of our requests are that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6 of them. So one request that we have is to lower the dBs from 65 to 55 so that we could see over the next season whether or not 55 will work. We know that some of the concerts were quiet enough and that we think people still had a really good time at the concert. So we really think there is a number that will work for all of us. So that was our ask. And because of the different sound, the different way that noise travels and all the variables, we really feel that if we set a new target and we work, on measuring to that, we can tell too, because we are learning by trial and error as well. What does 65 sound like? What does 55 sound like? We just don't know what it sounds like until we actually experience it in all of its shapes and forms. The second is that can we please find a way to measure and monitor the hertz, which is I believe how you measure the bass. I am not a sound engineer, but that's what in my limited knowledge, what I understand. And if we could find a way to do that, we could start to baseline our tolerances on that as well. Just like we were doing with the decibels. And I wanted to ask about the concert ending times. We see, that I don't know last year if it said 10 to 10:30. We did it, I thought, because we were kind of counting that things typically end at 10. We would be really probably a lot more comfortable with 10 o'clock if the decibel ratings could be lowered to 55, because we're hoping that might be amenable. But we're asking for an earlier time if they still stay at 65, because we know that is incredibly disturbing to us and we cannot sleep, and they tend to ramp up at the end of the concert. So it's while we're trying to fall asleep, it just gets worse until it's over. And so it's very disruptive. And we're asking for additional cellular service. I think there's something that can be done, temporary, some things, maybe hotspots or some things that they could be put out to help support. I don't know how that would work, but if there's any way they can do that. deleting suggested conditions 11 and 15, and updating the attachment 1 of the plan of operations for that noise section. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Middlebrook.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Alicia Hodges, and I live in the Western District of Caroline, but I also work with social services. So I'm sure I'm probably beating a dead horse for you right now. But I have kids that go here, so everything here is convenient for me. It's hard raising kids, especially with the COLA increases and everything. Prices of everything have gone up. But I stay in this county because of the leadership. I can't find this type of leadership anywhere else. They make the job enjoyable. The environment is just pleasant. You don't really hear any complaints from us. If there were complaints, you guys would probably be the first to know. We'd probably be requesting this. Hey, can something change? But no one has requested that. We stay here not because of the pay, because we want to help out the county. We want to be the voices for this county. We have fought for people. We have fed these people. We are here every day. We are here every day during COVID. We didn't stop. We drove to work every day. We gave food to people against protections for ourselves. We had protections. We didn't have protections. We did not stop, and we will never stop because we know people in this county are suffering. We give out food every day. We guide them towards resources. We say, oh, well, this program might be able to help you. Or how about you try this? Or come on in. Or, hey, maybe we can have someone deliver it to you. We go above and beyond. The leadership at Caroline County Services is amazing. They fight for us every day. They listen to us. They know us. Unfortunately, the only one I know on this board besides Jeff Seeley, because I bought honey from him, is Jeff Black, because he's in my county, but he posts everything that's going on in this county. I don't know the rest of you. How can you make a decision without knowing us? That's my real question. Have you guys considered maybe coming in and seeing how well we do work for this county? Have you considered maybe I'm fighting for my kids' future by helping people in this county and showing we are here to help, not be a burden, but we are here to ensure that our county thrives. We're not like one of the big counties where we have tons of money we could just dispose. We know what we have here in Caroline, and we are fine with it. Just be fine with us with the way we're going, because it's not broke. Don't fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment period? Anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment period?
Good evening. My name is Mavis Lewis, and I'm from Reedy District. I just want to commend the DSS board. I am the board chairperson, the president, and I recommend the DSS board. I recommend Sean for coming up here, delivering what he did. In the past, there had been issues with some in-house. They came to us with their problems. We listened to them, and it didn't go anywhere else because, we didn't talk about it because we're not to. But as far as the DSS board, I think that things are going on the path that it should right now, because like they brought up back in the past when everything else had folded and nothing was done at that point. And now everything is smoothly. I'm new to this, but I do stand behind them because, I, for one, have come to the board myself and asked questions, and they've asked me questions. And now I ask, you all question, why the change? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment period?
I don't need to speak again, but I want to turn in that petition earlier.
I'm really glad that was you because I was concerned about somebody yelling in the audience. So,
That gentleman right there.
or you could give it to this gentleman here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where's Scott? Oh, okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment period? Anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment period? Hearing none, we will declare the public comment period to be over. The board will now take a 15-minute break and we will be back at, I'm trying to add in some buffer time. 8:25. Oh, I'm sorry, 8:22. That's 15 minutes? Yeah, 8:25. All right, we're all back. Oh, that's all you need to flip the switch.
I figured you talked.
We will reconvene. We have completed public comment. Now moving to unfinished business. Agenda item number 4, special exception 04-2022, Mid-Atlantic Materials. And based on the county attorney's recommendation last month, we had a 3-3 vote, which constitutes, according to our bylaws, no action. So this item is back on the agenda for action one way or the other. We'll need a majority vote to finalize whatever action we take place. So, Mr. Hughes, are you going to talk about this since Mr. Fincham is not here, or you just want the board to deliberate?
But I think the board can deliberate, and I understand the applicant has submitted a letter outlining what they would be amenable to, which was the 100-foot buffer. So I think that's what's on the table for discussion, and the county attorney is certainly willing to elaborate if need be.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, do you want me to?
Ms. Long, please.
Yes, at our last meeting, we were going back and forth and couldn't seem to come to an agreement on this. It is in my district, and I'm fairly familiar with the property. And so I did put a call in to Mid-Atlantic, and we talked, and their main purpose really is they need to be able to legally, since they do have a 100-foot buffer between properties, to get their equipment over to Clark's Cut 2. And for that, they don't need that whole 100-foot buffer removed. What they need is it's longer than 100 foot, it's a property line buffer. They just need 100 feet, which would give them enough space to get their large mining equipment through, to get into Clark's Cut, which is right next door, so that they can work on that piece of property. This would be a temporary ingress-egress until the mining project was complete. They are fine with that. They've written a letter of support for that. It will protect the rest of the property buffer. It would also allow Clark that sand and gravel will be taken out through an already existing commercial entrance when it does get to the dump trucks, so that we're not putting a fourth commercial entrance on 17, which it's already dangerous enough on a 2-lane road. That's a commuter road. So I would support the recommendation, make the motion that we allow Mid-Atlantic to establish at the buffer parallel to 17 on the east side, a 100-foot ingress-egress area onto Clark's Cut 2 for the purpose of access to that property. And of course, they would still be bound by all the other berm requirements and maintenance agreements. They would have to establish all the berms on Clark's Cut 2, all those basic requirements that are there. But I would much rather have an access point than to change a condition. And that would be my motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Mr. McKenzie, would you have something to say?
Well, I just wanted to clarify the motion that's on the table from Supervisor Long. Is the motion to proceed with the condition as stated in the letter from the applicant? It seems to reflect what you were just articulating.
Yes. Yes, 100 feet from the bottom of the berm over the idea is to make that road so they can get their equipment back
Right.
and forth.
So if the board will allow, I'll just go ahead and read that condition, so that it's, because this wasn't in the agenda packet that was online because it was submitted on Friday.
So you need a moment to read. Are you going
I'll
to
just read it really quickly to clarify.
If it's you, it's okay with you? All right.
So the motion is to revise condition number 7 to the CUP to state as follows: the 100-foot buffer required with the August 22nd, 1979 conditional use permit along the east side of TM 4A1 is hereby vacated for a distance of 100 feet from the rear toe of the berm along Route 17 for ingress egress to TM 4A1/414. The buffer berm along Route 17 shall be extended and tie in with the buffer berm on TM 4A1/414. All buffer berms shall be maintained consistent with the purpose and intent of the resource sensitive overlay district. And again, that's the minor revision from what was in the staff report that was submitted by the applicant to the board.
Mr. McKenzie, for clarity, the 100-foot, or the egress is closest to 17 as opposed to the other side of the property.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, that is the 100-foot area. It is essentially a 100-foot square now that's being carved out, and it's closest to the rear toe of the berm along 17.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we had east side correct for all the people. Mrs. Long, that is your motion?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's made by Mrs. Long, seconded by Mr. Seeley.
I have one question.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Discussion, Mr. Seeley.
From Mr. Bevard, is this going to increase the amount of material coming out of the site, or is it still going to be the same? So it's not going to increase, there's not going to put any additional trucks or anything else on the road?
Okay, the applicant is saying no to both questions that you asked.
Okay.
No other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Chair to Text Division, Mr. Forehand, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Black, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley?
Aye.
Mrs. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Underwood?
Nay.
And I vote aye. The motion carries 5-1. That takes care of the special exception. Agenda item number 5, which is the proposed conversion of Social Services Board from an administrative board to an advisory board. Mr. Cully, would you give us a quick second, please? We currently have an administrative board.
That is correct.
Moving it to an advisory board means what to you? Just for definitions, I'm not saying.
I would become the official board. So all powers that are conferred by a state code to the administrative board become to the county administrator or his designee. So Wendy would directly report to me, not the board. Then you would make an advisory board, which could be those same folks that are currently the citizens serving in the administrative role, or if they choose not to, you would have to find new citizens to be on the advisory board. And they have a requirement to meet every other month.
Every other month right now. Okay. How hard is it to go back and forth from one to the other?
I would imagine it would be pretty much the same.
Same process.
Same process.
So if the board decided to go to one now,
change back,
and then decided to change back at a later date, it's the same thing, just make
I would
appointments.
defer to legal if they know of anything, but I don't know of anything that would prevent you from doing it another way in the future. I don't think it's a binding change like what we did with BRS when we went with it.
Right.
That's forever, but I don't think that's the case.
Not a
with
permanent
this.
thing.
Yeah, I think you can have it either way you want. It's a completely board decision.
Okay, and Mr. McKenzie in his seat signifying that the change would be easy, the same thing, both ways.
That's my understanding.
That's fine. I was going to let you sit down. I just wanted to repeat what you had said so it was on the record. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cully. Board discussion?
Yes. Mr. Cully, this does not change any daily, day-to-day work within DSS, right? It would just be if there was an issue that you could check on, that type of thing?
Correct. I would become the board. That's the Board of Supervisors either has to have an administrative board or the county administrator and or his designee is appointed as the board to carry out all those duties. Currently, the board has delegated those duties to the director. So I would envision I would meet with Wendy and we would go over what those delegated duties are and if there were any that I thought that I needed to take back so that I could assure the Board of Supervisors that we are managing in an appropriate manner, we'd work on those. I mean, that would be the first step.
And an advisory board would deal with
all the things that are more programmatic matters of, whether you're delivering services, whether you're hearing from the community that things are needed. I would think things like your Christmas program or Thanksgiving program or your food pantry or those type of things that you currently deal with. Anything that's non-administrative.
Thank you.
Mr. Cully, have you ever worked in this capacity before?
I did serve in this capacity in Middlesex.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you said in here, the memo, it said Caroline, like most counties in the Commonwealth of Virginia, has operated with a local board of citizens appointed by the Board of Supervisors. This is known as an administrative board. So are you saying that most counties in Virginia are administrative boards?
That is correct. There's 3 or 4 that I know of the other way, but it may be more than that now. When we researched it, when Middlesex switched, it was New Kent had switched, and I think Shannon, somewhere out in the valley. There wasn't a whole lot, but I haven't looked at it recently.
So we have how many counties in Virginia?
95.
95 and 90. And so of the 95,
I don't want to guess. I don't really know the number. I know when we looked at it when Middlesex, it was 2 or 3. The one that had just done it and was very successful was New Kent.
So you're saying probably a very small number of the 95.
I would think, yeah, it's not a majority or close to majority. Most everybody is administrative board.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. Black?
Mr. Kelly?
The
individual that came from the state said opposite of that, said that we're more the anomaly at this point.
She's no longer with the state.
I didn't think so.
All right.
Mr. Cully.
Go ahead.
There was someone that was brought up, Mr. Kiger actually brought it up, and it brings up a good point. What is the cost of this going to be for us? Because, I mean, is it HR? Obviously, it sounds like HR.
We provide some HR functions currently.
You do. Okay. But you yourself and Mr. Parton.
There's a management component that we are having to manage 30 some more employees indirectly because we would be managing the director directly.
So, for example, years ago, I know when the sheriff took on animal control, there was a reflective increase in salary for the increased responsibilities that the sheriff.
That would be a board decision.
Yes. But it would be a board decision. But if I got to be honest with you, if I'm in your shoes,
I would expect something.
Yes. Thank you.
We thank you for your candor, Mr. Cully, and that's always appreciated. I have a question. You said you did this in Middlesex.
We did.
In Middlesex, before you did this, were there problems or?
Extreme. That's why the board ultimately decided.
There were extreme problems.
Extreme problems. We had a long-term executive director that retired, and then a new director came and was overwhelmed by the organization and basically stopped showing up to work. I called the regional director, and the regional director said, they don't work for us. They work for your local board. I was getting complaints. I couldn't do anything about it. It didn't work for me. They weren't getting satisfaction from the social service board, and they were calling board members. So it's not the situation we have here. I'd have had that in the memo. But yes, we had problems, and it solved it when we were able to then hire a director who then moved on to the state, and then the director we hired after that is still employed in Middlesex in their role today. Their numbers came up. They were the worst organization in the eastern region, and they're no longer that. I'm not going to tell you they're the best one, but they're not on the bottom anymore of getting things done. They had employed a lady that had come in to the organization through the help of the organization that somehow had gotten elevated, and she was a secretary or something on the social service association, like a social workers association, and she wasn't a degreed social worker, but she was representing Middlesex on the association. Nobody even knew that. I mean, so that's how screwed up that organization had gotten. So it was pretty bad. Well, and that was a long time ago. So, you know, it did solve it. I'm not saying we have that problem here. Nobody really calls. I don't know that in my 10 years, anybody's called, at least not in the last 5 or 6, anything about social service agency not performing.
Okay, can I ask, I guess this is for Mrs. Sneed, but I just want to make sure. Sean Kiger is on the Social Services Board.
Correct.
Betty Brown is on the Social Services Board. Mavis Lewis is on the Social Services Board. Is Karen Mason?
Yes.
You're on the Social Services Board. All 4 of you spoke to keep things the way they are.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Any other discussions? Ms. Long, Mr. Underwood? Ms. Long?
Well, I'm going to make a statement because I see a lot of faces, and so I wanted to answer some of the questions. Wendy and Ann do a great job. The staff at DSS does a good job. I put this on the agenda because I had some concerns about being called an administrative board as opposed to an advisory board, simply because we go over things once every other month. We get our reports. To me, that's not a hands-on administration group. I feel we're more advisory. We ask about the energy. We talk about all the different Thanksgiving programs and the Christmas drives. And yes, there have been issues in the past, which have been here before Wendy came and shortly after she got here probably, that were stressful, and Mr. Cully had to step in and help and that type of thing. As a board member on Social Services Board, love being there, that's fine. But my job as a supervisor is also to protect the county. So I want the best services for the citizens that I can get them. To me, giving Wendy and the staff a contact person if an emergency comes up, if an issue comes up where they do not have to wait for the Social Services Administrative Board to come in and set up a meeting, which means coordinating everybody because we're not there working. To solve a problem could be a problem both legally and in services to citizens. So I asked this to be on the board, on the agenda tonight, so we could discuss the pros and cons both ways. I don't blame Wendy's staff for standing up for her, but this is no reflection on the staff or on Wendy or on Ann or anyone there. They do a good job. Our issue is how best do we protect the county and how best do we serve our citizens. So my feeling was we could have the best of both worlds. We just changed the administrative board to an advisory board. We keep doing what we're doing. And then we have an administrative board where Wendy has access to other sources and staff has access to other sources. What the board decides to do is up to them. But as far as answers go, if anybody has a problem with me looking out for the county, you can see me after this meeting. But I want to thank everyone on DSS for all the good work that they do. And as I told Wendy when I talked to her, this is no reflection on her. It's trying to do the best thing for everyone in Caroline County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Give me 1 second, Mr. Blacker, because I want to make sure we have all perspectives. Ms. Sneed, is there anything you would like to add to this discussion?
I would echo some of the things that have already been said, that when we have issues, we resolve them. We take care of our staff. We offer a flexible and supportive environment that has allowed for staff to flourish, to improve the work of the agency. In the past, when there have been issues with the Department of Social Services, the Board of Social Services addressed those problems. If I have problems currently and I need the assistance of my administrative board, I need only ask the chair to call a meeting. Meetings can be called quickly, as others can attest to. When Mr. Seeley was on the board, meetings were called very quickly when special meetings were needed. So it's very quick to have someone to respond. I feel fully supported by my board. I also feel fully supported by the state in matters of HR and programmatic issues. I feel no need to make a change to the board because there is no problem that has been brought to my attention or to my staff's attention or to my board's attention that needs to be solved. We would be happy to share additional information, but nothing has been asked of us. So we don't know why the change is asked for at this time. Inefficiencies have been noted, but nothing has been said.
Ms. Dean, can you tell me, do you see a disadvantage with just swapping names around and having two boards as an access point, as another tool? I think that's what I'm having trouble understanding.
We only get one board. You only get one board, not two boards.
Well,
The advisory
no,
board.
you would. Mr. Colley said we could still have an advisory board, a citizens board, citizens advisory board. So you'd still have two boards.
No, we have one or the other.
You still can appoint citizens.
Right.
But we don't have two social services boards. We have one or the other.
Technically, I become the board.
Yeah.
You still would.
You're not a board, but.
No, but that's what I think what she's trying to say. She would have the advisory board over here and me serving in the role of the administrative board is why she said two. Because I'm appointed as the board.
It's really
one for the board.
It's really one because you're the manager of the social services director.
The citizens advisory board will still keep going. Just change that. Just see what
We have a chance to appoint that. Mr. Black, you had a question before I asked.
Yeah, one of the.
I didn't hear an answer to that question.
To her question?
Yeah.
I don't think she.
Your microphone's
So my question, Wendy, is do you not see any advantage to the switch over of names where you would have a citizens advisory board, whereas right now we have a citizens administrative board, and then you have Mr. Cully or our staff on this side that you could also reach out to from 8 to 4 when others are at work.
No.
So it just seemed like two tools is better than one.
I currently have a vast array of tools, including contacting county administrator when I have questions and need of more information. They have been more than willing to assist me anytime that I have questions that they might be able to answer. They might not be my boss or supervisor, but they are always available when I contact them and are more than willing to give any guidance that they are capable of giving. I've also leaned on members of my board, had different members of my board over the years as terms have ended, and I've received excellent guidance from past board members as well as current board members. So at this time, no, I don't see an advantage of changing. If I had a need for more guidance, I'd have been here asking for a change.
Mr. Yeah, I just said there was a statement made about if there's an emergency, that we have quicker access. If there's an emergency for whatever reason, how do you handle it now?
So first of all, as has been stated, several duties are delegated to me by the Board of Social Services in the day-to-day operation of the agency. But if an emergency rose to the level where I needed the guidance of an administrative board, I would contact my board chair and I would let them know that I needed some guidance, and they would call a meeting. Typically, also, many emergencies would call for me to contact the state, to contact my regional director, to contact my home office, State Department of Social Services.
And do you get immediate feedback from the state?
I do.
Okay.
Has that happened much?
No.
Like ever?
Yes.
In your tenure, how many times is?
I've been the director since December of 2014, and I had to do that one time.
So once in 8 years?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know we're about to go to vote on this, but I just have I've looked at this for a while, and there were some, for me, I'll just spill out why I personally do not want to change anything up. So whether I am in the majority or minority, I think there were some things that were brought up by some of the speakers tonight that were very valid. First thing is, what is currently wrong? No one has answered that question. That question has been asked several times. What is wrong with the current situation? And I think Mr. Kiger brought it up tonight. Like, if it's not broken, why are we trying to fix it? So I don't see anything wrong. Now, I had talked to Mr. Kiger, and I remember when I was first elected, we had major problems on the Social Services Board. We had major problems in social services. And that was probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I was first elected. And we didn't do anything then. We didn't make any changes from an advisory to administration or administration to advisory board. We kept it the same. We let the board that we had hired or appointed to handle the situation that was at hand, and it got handled. And we didn't step in and say, hey, we need to do this. I think, this is my opinion. I know everyone's going to be different. Someone had brought up, what does it say? What does it say about the social services in general on our board if we're trying to change it? I don't think it looks good on us that we think that they're doing a good job. Okay. Another thing is, I think we need to look at ourselves. There's an argument that it's going to make us more efficient. Adding 35 more employees to the county administrator's plate, making us more efficient, I don't see how that happens. And then the second thing is, I think we need to take a reflection on ourselves. I think if we did a poll with the board right now, are we always happy with everything that our other departments that are under Mr. Cully, are we always happy with them? And I think that we would find that in each of our departments, although we have great employees, that we have issues from time to time with some of our departments. And do we interfere in that? We let the county administrator in that situation handle it, but this situation is not broken, so why are we going to go fix it? And we have a lot of people in here that, on this board, that, are very reluctant to raise taxes, or when it talks about spending money, that they're reluctant, but this is going to cost us money. And if I'm in Mr. Cully's shoes, Mr. Parton's shoes, I'm coming to the board immediately and saying, look, I got 35 more employees to deal with. I need a raise, and we're going to have to give it to them. Like, we're not going to have a choice. We got to have 35 more employees that we're going to have to deal with. And I don't think, if we talk about being fiscally conservative, I just don't think that's fiscally conservative. So we're spending more money to do a job that's already been being done. And it's not if it was completely broken, then spend the money, but it's not broken. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black. I would concur in the same vein. Ms. Snead, we're done if you want to sit down. Thank you. I would concur in the same vein. I didn't think there was any necessary or obvious need for change. We've heard things are moving along fairly well. Mr. Cully's gotten no complaints. I don't know if the board members have gotten any complaints. I know I haven't.
Technically, are the employees state employees or county employees?
They're hybrids.
They're both?
Yeah, they're really they're really state employees, but we treat them like county employees when we do raises.
No,
Okay.
no, sir. We are state supervised and locally administered. The county handles our payroll. They give us our benefits as employees, but we have to operate independently regarding our employees' salaries. We discuss our budget requests with our own board, and then we include it in our requests to the county administrator. When the salary study is done regarding county employee wages, that never includes us, that we're not a part of that. We have to advocate for ourselves. We are only included with the state when their budget language says it's state-supported local DSS employees. So if the state says that in their budget language, then yes, we get it, and the county and you all are kind enough to put in your local share for that. But otherwise, we're on our own to advocate for ourselves as far as salary.
Okay.
So that's the difference. So, it's been an ongoing, not argument, but discussion. You have to always explain that we're not really state, but we're not really county either.
So kind of like a hybrid like I started with?
Yeah.
Would any of that change if we were to switch?
No. I mean, we would work for the county administrator,
Your check
but we
would still look the same.
Our funding doesn't change.
Right.
Our HR structure doesn't change from what it is right now. We're still paid by the county, but it's state and local funds, a mix. But Mr. Keller can elaborate.
The only thing that would change would be included in salary studies and those things. It would operate as a county department. So they're still state employees, but they have a lot more tied to the county because they're working directly in an indirect manner for the Board of Supervisors because they're working for me versus they're working for an appointed board that you appoint, but then don't really have any control over other than when you replace those appointed officials with new appointed officials when their terms are up. So it's a little more connection, and that's how it operated in Middlesex. They became a lot closer to county employees than they ever were because when you work for the county, we consider them state employees because they don't answer to anybody that has any direct control at the county. So it is a little different, and the salaries and things like that would be more treated just as regular county employees.
Mr. Black?
I have one more.
Last call.
Yeah, Ms. Sneed, when was the last time you were given a performance evaluation by your board?
Last year.
Mr. Cully? When was the last time the Board of Supervisors? When was the last time the Board of Supervisors gave you a performance evaluation?
A couple of years, 3 years ago, before the.
And we're going to be more efficient. That's it.
Yeah. How does the board wish to handle this matter? Is there a motion that anyone like to make?
I'd like to make a motion, we delay any decision for 2 months.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Mr. Forehand, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley?
Nay.
Ms. Long?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood? Nay. And I vote aye, so it's 3-3. So that particular motion would fail.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we conversion of Social Services Board from administrative to advisory, effective immediately.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley to convert the Social Services Board from administrative to advisory. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. Mr. Underwood, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mrs. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley?
I vote aye.
Mr. Black?
Nay.
Mr. Forehand?
Aye.
And I vote nay. So that motion carries 4-2. Mr. Black and I are the dissenting votes. The Social Services Board will go from administrative to advisory. Agenda item number 6 is request a pay increase or a increase in pay grade for accounting specialists from the Treasurer's Office.
Members of the board, last year we included a new position in the treasurer's office based on what the treasurer requested. But when they went to try to fill that position, and they found some qualified candidates, but they could not get them to come for the job for what we were paying. They like to regrade that position, change the title of it. It's in your packet, and it's increased the pay by $20,000. I think even that was way underneath what one of the people they interviewed was currently making. And so to get the skill level they need to help in the treasurer's office, we really do need that. And we've included that new salary in the proposed budget numbers that I gave you tonight. Now, treasurer's here to answer any specific questions, but hopefully you'll see fit to do that, because otherwise we're going to struggle to get anybody qualified for that money.
I think the treasurer's probably said all she needs to say is you can't hire anybody for that salary. So, and Mr. Cully, you're recommending we do this, and you've included that number in the budget already. So is there a motion to move forward?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion's made by Mr. Underwood. I think that was Mr. Forehand and Mr. Seeley seconding. Discussion?
Yeah. I have a quick question. Is this because it's hard to get applicants just generally with the market being like it is, or is it because this person is more qualified?
It's harder to get more qualified applicants would be. So if you have an entry level job, a lot of those you can get a number of applicants and people that are willing to, but this is specifically more accounting based to help with reconciliation and those kinds. It's not a counter.
So it's for this particular person that is applied.
When they looked at the skills they wanted and interviewed those skills, that people wanted to come to work, but not for the money.
So we're not setting up a domino system of.
No, it shouldn't affect anybody else in the office. This is for a higher level position. She had hoped she could get somebody who wanted to work. The treasurer doesn't hire a whole lot of people over the years, and so most of our people are people that are working the counter, serving the customers. This is more of a accounting type of position. It's not a finance position because we're not asking for those kind of dollars, but it is more than what she normally has hired.
Thank you.
Did I say something wrong?
Okay. You good?
I'm good.
All in favor of the motion to increase the classification for the treasurer's position, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Cully and Ms. Curran. Agenda item number 7 is a request for permission to connect a single-family dwelling to Aqua, Virginia.
You saw in the packet, I created a map for you that gives a blow-up of that. While we don't normally recommend any additional connections to Aqua, this please do what you want with it, but it's not extending Aqua out like on the end of Aqua. They're surrounded by Landor and Ladysmith Road. So I'm sure it saves them some money, but you don't have to do it, but it is what they've requested.
The applicants,
They know what they're getting into.
Mr. Schiebel has any technical questions or Mr. Hughes. I think the map explains it the best. You look at that piece of property, it's completely surrounded by there. We'll never serve it because it's out there surrounded.
Right.
Mr. Black, I asked Mr. Schiebel today if we needed to get these people to do a disclaimer.
Yeah.
The biggers are aware of the cost of connection, which they've already paid, but also the ongoing cost per month based on 5,000 gallons, as I discussed and shared with them. So they were aware of that. One of the issues they have is there is a very wet area in there and trying to find a drain field, which they haven't spent the money to do that because they thought they could connect. So anyway, it could be an issue trying to come up with a sewer system on that particular property.
It might be cheaper than an alternative system.
Correct.
Far and away.
Yeah.
We don't have anything within a couple miles of this.
So it's about 1,800 feet, which it would be in Bridal Woods, the new section of Bridal Woods. is where that would be. But there's still no way to get that with a private force main coming down the road. Just the cost would be astronomical for a single connection.
And systemic question. I mean, not throwing stones. Why are we here if you have nothing within 1,800 feet? Shouldn't it be a easy rubber stamp? You can do what you want.
So Aqua Virginia cannot serve outside of their service area. So because this is a 5-acre tract that is completely surrounded on all 4 sides, short of Ladysmith Road going through there.
It's in their, basically in their charter, they can't serve outside of the land.
The county. Right. The county will not allow them to serve. Right.
So this is an exception to a standing policy rule, whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
So same thing. So Bridlewood, we allowed Aqua to be able to serve that one section of Bridlewood. And now that we have sewer services, the next phase that's going through will actually be connected to the county.
Right.
Just because we now have services that are there. So they can't serve outside of that area.
I would add, I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. It's not that Aqua can't do it. No utility can. So we're not singling out Aqua.
Right.
No
right. I know we have some.
We have because we have our own utilities now.
Correct.
We are the first. So if we serve it, or we have to give you permission to serve it. So that's why it's here.
And by code, if somebody were to design something and want to put in a utility system somewhere in the county, it would be designed to our standards and then turned over to the county if approved by the Board of Supervisors to operate.
So does this, I mean, a couple of my concerns, because this is, and I just found out about it on Thursday. I mean, I was talking to Mr. Parton and I just found out this was happening. I had no idea. I see they have a RV parked on the up in their lot. I thought that was possibly like some sort of station for the people that were doing Bridlewood. I had no idea that it was. I mean, I found out Thursday this was coming to us.
Right.
So no one advised me, hey, this is, you might want to. And I unless I missed an email, I haven't heard from the couple either.
Yeah, he is a professor and he is in North Dakota. He's been a resident in Fredericksburg for the past 20 years. That's where his home is currently. And he's looking to retire in 2 years. And they bought this property last year thinking this would be their retirement home to move to.
Yeah. Okay. But they're also, I mean, it's a different subject, but it's also on a very, very dangerous. It's also on a very dangerous section of them. When we clean that up, that's a extremely dangerous section of Ladysmith Road.
I agree. You come off of that hill down.
Yeah. You can't see. The people of Bridlewood complain about not seeing the sight lines, but that is a very. I mean, the people of Lake Landor have some concerns, about it too, obviously. But
it's hard to find a 5-acre piece of land.
Right. It is
Ladysmith Road.
Right.
That's a find.
And so they know about the cost of Aqua.
Correct. Yeah, I shared with them the recent request that Aqua has in and how much it would cost for 1 through 5,000 gallons to give them an idea.
Now let me ask you a question. When they went to go, because there was a letter in here that the only thing in here that kind of, it's a letter from I guess it's from their builder. Our client has paid the connection fee. No, that's not it. It was another one saying that we heard that the county wants more connections. That the builder said, we heard the county wants more connections. I guess it's from Mr. Beegler itself. Okay.
Stuff our pockets full of citizens' money.
County officials, this is right here. County officials are saying that they are wanting water and sewer connections, more water and sewer connections, yet there is no county water and sewer connections in that area. Let me ask you the question, because when I go to buy a house, build a house, whatever the case may be, I have to do my own homework. I mean, I have to do homework. I mean, I have to know who's going to be my electric provider, who's going to be my water provider, where am I going to put my drain field? These are all questions that I'm, as a homeowner or home builder, I'm responsible for. Did they, in your understanding and talking with them, did they say, hey, look, we had no idea that we couldn't put a drain field there? Is just something that they don't realize that they could put?
The real estate agent said there's water and sewer at the back of your property that you can connect to. So they understood there was water and sewer there when they bought the property. Didn't know any different until they showed up at the building department to get a permit.
So it wouldn't be if the builder told them that.
No, the real estate agent.
the real estate agent, so the person who sold them the lot.
Mhm. So they showed up at planning to get a permit and they're like, no, you can't connect to that because you're in the county. So that's how we ended up here. So they directed them to my office and I put together the memo and asked for some letters.
I guess my concern, and my only concern is, and because you know as well as I do, I think the whole board knows, I'm probably on here. I have no love for Aqua Virginia, and I think that's been apparent over the years. But at the same time, I don't want to. It's a catch-22 because I don't want to punish someone. You know, I don't want to punish someone who's bought a 5-acre favor lot and be like, "Hey, I'm the big bad government." You know, if that's their dream home and this is what their dream is. And then the other thing too, and this is a bigger question: does this set precedent in any way? I mean, is this a Mr. Cully? Maybe you can chime in on this too. Is this one of the things where if I say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," then developer B comes along, and I guess we take each one on a case by case basis. But developer B comes along and says, "Hey, I'm now gonna put a some sort of development right outside of Lake Landor, and I want to hook up to Aqua," because I do not want that happening.
No, I think if you look at the map and you make your motion clear on that you're hooking up this one connection to this 5-acre parcel, because I think planning's got concerns they don't want it divided, making smaller lots. It is completely surrounded. It's not an extension. Say they were coming down County Line Church Road, where you're coming out of the back of your neighborhood, or going further down Ladysmith Road toward where the man ran the winery, or those kinds of things, and are expanding outside of their footprint. They're basically, to me, expanding inside of their footprint. They surround this lot. And so that would how I would frame it, so that the next one that came that's on an end either direction of any neighborhood, Aqua or any other private system, we'd say no. But I think this is a very unique case. I didn't realize one way or the other that this was a piece of property that was for sale. I mean, I guess the only other big chunk in there is the guy that's got the barn and the thing up on top of the silo. That's got a bunch of land that's sort of surrounded, but I would make that on that case. That's a lot larger piece of land.
If we were to make the motion, what would you, just to say, besides approving, would you say something different in regards to?
I would add in that you're approving it because the property was surrounded by the existing system, and you're approving it one connection for this 5-acre piece. I think unless council has some other, I know that's what planning staff has recommended. So those would be the things that I would add.
Can we limit this to only one and no other connection from this entire property?
Yes, yeah. You're doing it for this one 5-acre, one connection per this 5-acre lot, because it is surrounded by the Aqua system. I think that's.
I don't know.
I don't either, but just
I know I do.
Makes it clean.
I do too.
I think that's
well noted.
Right. It might have to do the other.
that was actually the process, Mr. Black, is just this one, and with the condition it wouldn't be subdivided.
Right.
And he could try to get a well and avoid the water.
So.
And he could try for a perk site on 5 acres or not.
He could. He'd have to hire a soil scientist to look at that.
So he does have options. But if he wants to,
he knows what his cost is if he goes to Aqua.
Can you say what the motion you suggest the motion, so that way I can?
Sure. I mean, that sounds. The motion would be that I think you are moving to approve a single connection for a single dwelling on this parcel, because the parcel is completely surrounded by the Aqua system.
Okay, correct. That's the motion that I'd like to make then.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Forehand. Discussion, we've had enough. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Proposed renewal of the festival permit is agenda item number 8, followed by 8A and 8B, which will be the schools. Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is a request for a festival permit for Meadow Event Park After Hours Concert Series. And as you're aware, the applicant has received permits in prior years, 2021 and 2022, in accordance with Chapter 49 of the Caroline County Code. This request is to allow 25 shows between the months of May through September, operating between the hours of 5:30 and 10:30 p.m. The applicant noted in their narrative an average attendance of 4,000 persons, with the largest crowd being of 8,500 persons. The applicant again is requesting a maximum of attendance of 14,500 persons per event, which is consistent with the permit that they were granted in 2022. The applicant's narrative also noted the methodology of ticket scanning to track attendance, and that information would be available in real time to authorities. The available options of ticket prices that they have, and also information on the tents and structures to be used, and the general venue rules. The narrative addresses sound and the ability to manage sound and lighting in an effort to minimize impact on the community. Public and private security provided. The private security is provided by RMC, and emergency management services will be in place to include a security meeting prior to events. The narrative also notes insurance coverage, the traffic and parking plans, and the applicant's representative is here and may address any of their narrative in more detail if you wish. The recommended conditions have been amended for this permit this year. These amendments are recommended as a result of review by staff over prior year's operations. And these amendments are not punitive, but are intended to enhance the public safety and minimize impacts on the community. They included for fire, proof of a contract for EMS services to be provided to the fire chief at least 72 hours prior to each event. The requirement of an application and approval of a fireworks permit for pyrotechnics and flame effects. The submission of an emergency plan at least 30 days prior to the first event, and all emergency gates shall remain accessible anytime the venue area is accessible to the public. There's also been a condition included by the Virginia Department of Health, which speaks to the restroom facilities that will be provided in accordance with VDH standards, with a minimum number of restrooms to accommodate 8,500 people, which must be supplemented as needed for any event above 8,500. Evidence of approval from the VDH must be provided at least 72 hours prior to the first event and 24 hours prior to any event that may exceed 8,500 persons. Condition related to noise: festivals shall not exceed 65 decibels measured from the exterior wall of any occupied dwelling adjacent to the exterior property line of Meadow Event Park. It should be noted that a violation of this condition is a violation of the permit and not of the county's noise ordinance, as the noise resulting from any activities which a permit has been issued in accordance with the requirements of Chapter 49 festivals or Chapter 50 fireworks of the county code, provide such activities are in compliance with the permit. It's simply they are exempt from the noise ordinance if they're in compliance with a permit that has been issued by the county. Staff requested and received comments from both internal and external partners, which are included in your packet. And as noted, the proposed conditions have been amended with the input from those commenting agencies with the intent of minimizing impacts on the community. So this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. The appropriate staff is here to answer any questions, and the applicant is here to answer any questions.
I have one question, Mr. Hughes. As you were reading through, you said the noise level shall not exceed 65 decibels, which is condition number 11. But then you said a violation of that condition is not a violation of the noise ordinance, but a violation of the actual special permit.
That is correct.
Which would mean the permit could be revoked if that happened?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Questions?
Is that the same as it was written last year? Same?
It was 55 measured at the property boundary last year. And so the issue with the property boundary is there's a boundary that is within a stone's throw of the stage, and they could certainly not comply with that condition.
Mr. Underwood, you had
we just looked at the decibel level, and I thought that 55 was in there last year, and then he moved it to 65 this year.
That is correct.
But you're saying that's at the dwelling, and we wanted the property line. Last year was the property line. And I'm not so sure that, from what the residents are saying, that they don't agree. They think it's, so I would like, I know Mr. Kruger is here. I would like to hear from him this evening about some of the concerns of the community, because as some of the community members said, they didn't really see this until I called them, and they saw it online when it was coming. So I'm not sure we have any of their input in a discussion about the changes that they would like to see, or any type of discussion, any negotiating of what conditions they can agree to, cannot agree to, what they would like to see changed.
Sure.
So
the only thing, my only response to that would be that at 55 or 65, they won't be able to meet that at the property line, because there's a property line essentially at the end of the field. The road that divides the two properties is extremely close. So I could stand on that stage and scream and hit probably 55 decibels. So that's my only comment I'll make to that, just so you understand that it's almost nearly impossible to comply to that condition the way it was written last year. So, hence the change to measure from the dwelling versus the property line.
Ms. Long, you want to ask a question?
Well, I do, but then I realized that you weren't here last year, so you probably don't know the answer, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Leon.
Well, there's other staff that's here, so.
Okay.
Mr. Reitman is here, the chief is here,
So,
our chief.
Oh, Mr. Whiteman is coming
The thing
in.
is, I know the road you're talking about, and I agree the stage is pushing that way, but most of the complaints are coming from where it bounces off and goes back. So you're talking about the back property line, like around the Route 30. Did we measure from there at 55? Would that be a doable thing and a logical thing, since that's where the issue is? As I talk with my hands, I'm sorry. I do that all the time.
That's okay. Captain, would you help us?
Well, I don't know if I can help you, but I can tell you what went down.
That would be a help.
Okay. I measured at every property line 360 of the fairgrounds. The way the stage is orientated towards the west, and Leon's right. If I stand on a stage without a microphone, I'm violating 55 decibels at the property line, which is right in front of me. I don't even need a band.
You're probably violating it now.
I'm probably violating it now. No, it's never been 55. It was 65 decibels last year and the year before.
That's what I thought.
That's what I measured. That's what I measured at the property lines and at the dwellings. And the complaints we had, I shared my noise meter with the homeowners, and they watched as I took the noise measurement. One gentleman, Nance, where you're talking about behind the meadows or on the east, I was up at his property and mine measured, and Mr. Underwood was with me. He witnessed it, and then he said, well, mine says this, and he had a cell phone, and I don't know about the maps. I know my noise meter is calibrated. So
it wouldn't hold up in the people's court.
What's that?
I said your app on your phone wouldn't hold up in any court.
Yeah, that's what I told him. Judge Wapner wasn't going to buy that. But so I'm saying, is the 55 going to be violated at the road right across from the stage? Yes, you're never going to meet that. But there's nothing there but a clear cut. The property's been sold and the timber's been clear cut. And the first farmhouse to the west there that sits up on the hill, I've never had a complaint. I've gone around, and Mr. Underwood's gone, him and I both, and talked to these folks. And some are happy. They'll come out and listen to the concert. And when they don't want to hear it no more, they go inside. So when we wrote this year's permit app, which we've had since late December, We went with the 65 decibels that we've always had. And we measure the 65 at the nearest occupied dwelling where there's a complaint. And I know earlier we had the comment of a valid complaint. Any complaint's a valid complaint to me, and I went to them all. So I don't think there's a difference between a valid complaint or an invalid complaint. If somebody had concerns, we went there. So, and I'll be honest with you, there's nights where it's louder when I'm at these sites. It's atmospheric driven. Some weekends I'll get calls, Kevin, whatever you did last night, make them do next week. Well, I didn't do nothing. Cloud cover, the clearness of the sky. When I've noticed when a rain comes in right before the concert and then it quits and we kick off, it's loud. But again, measuring at the locations, I never got above the 65.
What about the concerts ending at 10:30, which is in here now, and they've requested 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock on certain days?
It's been 10:30. Well, what it was is it can go on no later than 10:30. Some concerts last year and the year before ended at 10, depending on when they started. But we do not allow them, the sheriff's office, nor myself, to go past 10:30.
Okay. I wonder if that would affect them if we said 10 o'clock.
For clarification, I think we originally looked at 10 o'clock, and then we had rain, we would go to 10:30.
Go to 10:30. No later than 10:30. Yes.
No later than 10:30. That was to give them a buffer to make sure they got the act in. And I think that was how it was designed the first couple of years.
First 2 years.
So, so the question now is if there's rain and it pushes you back to 10:30, it's got to stop. So.
Yeah, 10:30 was the cutoff. Absolute.
So, and that's the promoter in the back, right?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger and his son, yes. One other thing I'll interject. The
you can
bass,
stay there if you want. That's fine. You can stay there.
The bass, the boom boom, my noise meter, nor is there a noise meter that measures that. We've been up and down this. We've researched it, and you can feel that thunderous boom sometimes. But I have no way to register that. The noise meter itself is the ambient noise. It's not the bass vibration. So I know I get complaints on that, but there's no measurement to it.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Did you say that the closest house, because I went to a couple of concerts last year, the closest house is up on the hill, right?
Correct.
That's the one. So
Whoever
whoever owns that, it would be elevated, right?
Right.
So
They're
they would be the
elevated
one.
up on the hill, old farmhouse up there. As the stage faces the west,
Right.
that direction.
You can clearly see it when you're at the concert. Like you can.
Now that they've clear cut, yes.
Yes.
And then.
Have we had complaints from that house?
No.
None.
Actually, Mr. Underwood and I went up there, and folks are real nice. They say we come out and listen, and when we're tired, we go in the house. I've had no complaints from them.
So when you, just out of curiosity, when you do your noise checks for these concerts, are you doing just the house you're getting from complaints, or are you going in a radius, like say?
No, I go in the radius. I go the property line. To the south is the AT&T tower. That's the highest on the hill before the State Fair's house that they have on the property. I go to the backside where Miss Long was talking about. That goes down into that bowl that the property just sold there, where it was going to be a reservoir. And then I'll be honest with you, I don't much go towards the county line towards King Dominion because nobody over there cares. Because King's Dominion is probably louder than the concert.
There's nobody there anyway.
And I've never had any complaints in that direction. I go down Meadow Farm Road. The gentleman at the end, before he sold his farm, Mr. Underwood and I would go down there and take measurements. But the new owners down there, I've heard nothing from.
Have you ever, just out of curiosity, have you ever been at the venue when King's Dominion has had fireworks?
Oh, yeah. They do that every weekend during the summer.
Have you ever measured the noise from those coming over, or is there?
Not my job, man.
No, I'm just
No.
curious. Thank you, Mr. Wyman.
I'm joking.
Yeah. But
I'm not multi-jurisdictional.
I'm just wondering from the noise
How long
coming
you
over
out
there.
to Hanover?
Yeah, I was just curious.
Nah, I have.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Underwood, you had a couple of questions?
Yeah, just,
and then we'll be ready to.
and maybe Mr. Kruger, I want to ask Mr. Kruger a question if I could. If you could come up, yeah.
And I just told him he didn't have to come down.
Let him get some exercise, sitting down.
Good.
Oh, it was really your son I was talking about.
Sorry, we put you way at the bottom of the list. You're the last one up.
How you doing, Larry?
Good, thank you.
You know, I don't know if you were here when the residents from the area.
I was.
You were, so you heard some of their comments about monitoring the noise. What can you do to help monitor? And last year, Kevin and I were pretty much
the monitors.
The monitors, yeah. And then we had the deputy at the soundboard because we said 90 at the soundboard would give us the ambient noise of 65. What? I don't think we can continue that monitoring, but I think at some point we need to have some way of monitoring or doing some type of sound check for that prior to, the concert series.
Well, when we have sound checks, then obviously, there's opportunity there to monitor what's going on then.
Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, that's no problem during the sound checks. Absolutely. This is before the shows.
Right.
Normally 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. So, and we monitor them anyhow. So, the real standard is the talent requires us to be able to permit them to do at least 95 to 100 dB at the front of house. That's the monitoring station.
Right.
And that's the real control factor there.
And we were pretty much there last year, right at this soundboard.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest factor was the atmospheric pressure. Is that
correct?
Probably more than any change that I know you lowered the speakers.
Right. We reduced, changed the position of the speakers, which I think helped. We can do that further, continue to do that. And the other side of the coin is that, we could have 95 to 100 dB at the front of house. And, one day it could be louder as you got further away and less loud, depending upon the atmospheric, the cloud cover, and also the ambient. The more people we have in the audience, the more that deadens the sound. It knocks that sound down. So if you have a large crowd, then it's going to knock some of that sound down too. But the control factor has to be pretty much at the front of house. Right. So if we, because if let's say that you did say to me it's too loud, then I'm going to go to the front of house and say knock it down a notch. And it's not, they might go down from 98 to 97, and that makes a huge difference. So that's something that we do. We do that. We do that without even being asked to do that sometimes, because we have people sitting in the front row who might be, complaining about being too loud in the front row. So I'll go to them and say, hey, cut it down some. But, the reality is that by repositioning those speakers, I think it did make a big difference because it came down towards the audience. And that was something we did fairly easily, and we'll continue to do that. And the other side of the coin is that continuing to monitor at the front of house, I think is the biggest issue because at 65 dB at the property lines is it's hard to measure because of, like I said, atmospheric conditions and trucks and buses that are going by and other things that are going on in the area. So that makes it sometimes difficult too. But we are trying to make every effort for everybody to be as happy as possible with this. I mean, the problem is that one person's noise is somebody else's music, and that's going to kind of be the way it is no matter where we are. We had problems in Innsbruck, and we'd have problems if we had a concert on the moon, I think. But we try to do the best we can to help the community because we're here for the community. Really, that's what we're here for. People love music, love live music. So, but I think that we did a good job last year. I really felt like we did a good job because I don't think that the numbers of complaints were terribly significant over the course of the whole season. There were probably maybe 4 or 5 shows out of the 20
20-some shows that we had last year that were louder. The rest of them, like the woman said, some of them, they didn't know we had a concert going on. So it really depends on a lot of variables.
Mr. Thomas?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Do y'all use any sound absorbing materials around the stage?
None that I know of.
Okay. Because they have like, mass weighted vinyl and sound absorbing panels that could be on the peripheral.
Right.
I don't know. Again, it's just ideas, and just didn't know if y'all did anything like that.
I don't know that it would.
A mass weighted vinyl you can leave outside for 20 years and it still looks the same.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what.
Anyway, it's comes in sheets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was just a question. Just
right.
Didn't know if that's something that would be something to look into.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Underwood, I think you had a motion ready to go.
Larry, is there anything that you could think of that we could that could be done to ease the tensions between the neighbors and the concert series?
I'd be more than happy to give them tickets to come to the concerts. I mean, I don't think that would be the answer.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know there's a whole lot of other things we can do. I mean, I think that other than going over there and talking to them, which I'm not sure they would be, fittingly happy about. But,
so everything you're doing now, you tried to do before in other locations, I guess is what you're saying is to minimize intrusion.
Yeah, we had the problems out in Henrico. We had problems for 33 years in Henrico at Innsbruck. Everybody got used to it, even though they got complaints for every show almost. Out in Chesterfield, which is a new venue, we get complaints out there, and Chesterfield deals with them pretty much the same way we're dealing with them here. We have a 65 dB limit again out there, and they haven't seen any violation of that, even though they do get some complaints out there. So, and there are neighborhoods that are closer out there than they are here, actually. So, might be a little bit more understandable. But the reality is that it depends upon a lot of variables. But anything we could do, anybody has suggestions, and we're always game to try and do things. So, like last year when you all came to us and said, "Can we angle the speakers down some?" We did it, and I think it did make a difference. It was a good suggestion. I think it did help some. So I'm not sure our neighbors noticed it, but I think it did help.
Could I ask, when you check the setting of 90 at the front of the houses, I think you turned it. Do you do it once, or do you check it periodically as the band's playing? Because it's real easy for a bass player or whatever to
absolutely
do this.
There's a sound meter on the deck that's checked continuously throughout the night.
It does check.
Oh, yeah.
We can get readings of those, printouts of those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the monitor.
Nancy, we checked those, Mr. Chapman, Miss Stacy, Mr. Curry. Captain Curry.
Yeah.
He is there at the soundboard with his sound meter as well. So when we got a complaint, we would call Captain Curry and ask him what his reading is at the soundboard to make sure it wasn't over the 95. So,
all right, Mr. Underwood, this is Reedy Church.
Yes. I'd make a motion that we renew the festival permit for after hours concert series at Meadow Event Park.
With the conditions
with the conditions
as is?
As is in the
okay.
As presented.
As presented.
As is.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley to approve the festival permit for after hours concert series. We've had enough discussion. All those in favor say aye.
I want to say, Mr. Chairman, just for my constituents that are here, the reason that we can't do at the dwelling is because of the property line variable. They would be in violation immediately if we say at the dwelling.
At the property
line, I mean. So that's why we have to go to the dwelling, because we would be in violating. for the ones that are the closest. So, but this, again, this is the festival. Anyway, I'm not gonna debate it, but it's the festival permit and not the sound ordinance that we're passing.
Okay.
Second. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Seeley made the second.
Okay.
Mrs. Lambert, Mr. Underwood will talk to you directly, and I believe since you're in the area, you would be a legitimate person to complain, so. Well, I'm sure Mr. Whiteman will take that into consideration. Where did he go? Oh, he's still in the back.
The back.
Okay. Mr. Underwood made the motion, you made the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, the motion carries. We have two action items from the work session. The first one was presented today from the schools for a budget transfer of $325,000 from from instruction expenditures budget to the transportation expenditures budget to cover the increase in fuel costs.
So moved.
Is there discussion? No. Is there a second?
This instructional money is leftover instructional money due to vacancies and that type of thing, right? I just want to make sure people know that.
Well, it's the current fiscal year, so we don't know it's leftover. They're saying it was from money that was left over, so.
But Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, we can't take money out of instruction. We talk about paying teachers more money and not having, and now we're going to say we're going to take it and put it somewhere else from that category. We're talking against ourselves. So I can't support taking money out of instruction. I think they can move money from another category if they want, but certainly not instruction.
Is there a second in Mr. Black's motion to make the transfer as is? Hearing none, is there a discussion to make another category?
I think we would need some input if it can come from another category, but I can't, I'm not going to support taking money out of instruction.
Dr. Calvert, you've come to clarify the.
Good evening. As indicated during our board workshop this afternoon, we shared with you that we had a number of FTEs that have been filled with long-term substitutes. And so because we do not provide benefits to long-term substitutes, we have available funding. Additionally, some of our new hires who are full-time employees did not elect to take benefits. We plan for employee plus one when we are budgeting. As a result, we have those funds remaining for this utility operationals cost that you all have been experiencing as well.
But if we reduce.
Is he sleeping?
What's wrong?
He was. I needed him for a second.
This is.
Go ahead.
No, if we reduce the instructional budget this year.
The instructional budget is our largest category. It represents 88% of our budget. All of our other line items and categories are not robust in nature and could not accommodate a $350,000 decrease.
Yeah. This.
Just to be clear, Dr. Calvert.
For 1 year.
I know it seemed like a long time ago. We discussed this at the opening part of presentations, not at our work session.
We discussed this during our joint workshop today.
Yeah, she said instructional health, I think, was what.
We said health insurance.
Right, health. Well, I was instructional under health is under that category.
And this is only for the 3 months.
This is to cover 3 months of an overage. Yes, sir.
So, I mean. Right. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I need to make a correction. Mrs. Stevens just informed me I spoke incorrectly. The point you want, why don't you share that? You calculate.
The 325,000 that we are requesting from the instructional budget is 0.8% of the instructional budget. As you'll see in our admin, our pupil transportation, our operations management, and our technology funds are currently all running above 60 and close to 70% of the expended funds at this time.
I mean, you're gonna, if you don't approve it, you're gonna cripple them.
No motion at this time.
I mean, you can come back at a later date, but they're going to continue to have to operate and continue to buy diesel fuel. And I don't foresee diesel fuel going down in the next 2 or 3 months.
It's going up.
And so they're either going to come out of the fund balance, overall our fund balance, or from this money that they're going to have left over at the end of the year. So while I understand they can't give this money that was health insurance for raises, the salaries have been set, the contracts have been done, so they don't really have. They could give it as a bonus. Say they had.
No, they save money they save money in instruction just because of not paying substitutes and higher costs. So that money was saved in instruction. What I don't want to do, again, I don't want to, when we talk about actual numbers, is when we start talking about the budget, then we're going to say the actual instructional budget is going to be $300,000 lower because we saved funds, but we're going to transfer it out. So your actual spending is going to look different to me.
It will, but they're going to base their budget on the next year, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but the number of positions they've got in instruction, like they fill them all, and then the raises that go on that, and the benefits, employee plus one. We do the same thing. We figure out health insurance. Right. We're not sure who's going to be in the positions that,
Right, you don't know.
Just don't know. So I can understand how they have saved this
Mr.
money.
Cully, I think that's enough. We're gonna delay this for a couple of weeks and then we'll do it from there.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Can they afford this for a couple of weeks or?
Yeah, they're gonna keep spending the money. If it was there in instruction now, it'll be there in instruction in 2 weeks. And if
eventually they can't pay money out of transportation is going to run out of money. That's where they're paying the fuel from.
Right.
And how much money is left in the transportation?
They're gonna keep going. Okay.
Can I do the next one?
Yeah, you can do the next one.
We just want that. That's why I got up here. I thought I didn't realize that one was going to be issued. But the 800,000 left over
reversion funds.
From reversion funds, we would recommend that go in the school CIP, and there's a line item in there for the AC where we have some other money. They have their ESSER money and their money, but the money we have in CIP. 1 million that we already have in school CIP for this project. We'd recommend that 800,000 go into that. So you'd appropriate it from the restriction where it's in their fund balance into school CIP.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the number, that money would help the grant possibilities, right?
Correct.
That's the only reason we would do it. And you're saying put it in
school CIP, which we basically control for that project. So they only be spent for CMS HVAC.
I'll make that motion.
I want a clerk of the works from the county for that project.
Mr. Whiteman.
He's gone.
It was past his bedtime. We'll work on that. That's what we had done once before.
Right. We've done clerk of the works before, and it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I don't think that's a bad idea, but we can
I agree
negotiate
with
that with that.
I agree with that.
I don't see why they would have a problem with that.
I'll go along with that. To transfer a specific line item for that specific project with the condition that there's a clerk of the works from the county. I'll go with that. This is a new motion for just that one, so.
I'll second.
All right, then it's my motion.
So let me ask a question. This is just going into
CIP.
The school CIP, which is Fund 304, that is only be spent out for that project.
And we're retaining that.
We retain control of that until they, I think, present bills to it. They present invoices for payment.
Plus it helps the grant. We're kind of shooting in the dark. Like I said at the work session, we did not have an option to do this earlier. We're here because we're here. The grant's due the 31st. They won't get numbers. This gives them the best chance, but it also earmarks that money for that specific purpose.
Correct. Which is what they asked. That was their number one priority. So we'd go into that and it would, 20% more on 800,000 we could potentially get from the state.
Okay. So that's the motion. Mr. Black made the second. Any further discussion?
That's with the clerk of the works, correct?
The clerk of the works was part of the motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously.
I had a question earlier from Ms. Stevens or Mr. About the transportation.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to do gas in 2 weeks.
Mr. Black, as of February, we had spent 69% of our transportation budget.
So you would, if the delay was 2 weeks through our next meeting or 3 weeks to the next meeting for that transfer, we could, that you would not run out of money.
We are out of budget for the fuel line. We will continue to pay bills.
I don't understand why we're not just doing this.
Mr. Black, go ahead and redo your motion.
What's that?
We pass it.
Past the reversion money one, right?
The fuel one we passed over and went to the reversion. Right. Yours died for lack of a second.
Right.
So then we went to reversion money. We'll come back in 2 weeks and we'll do
make the motion. I'll second.
Are we still able to make a motion regarding the fuel?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we.
Actually, we weren't because we passed that in the agenda. If it's that critical and we're going to do it right now, it doesn't make a difference whether we do it now or later.
Do it.
I think there was some dissension now. That's why I decided to do it later.
Just do it now.
You're the chairman. I'll make the motion if you say it's okay.
It wasn't really okay. We had already passed that agenda item.
Okay.
If you want to challenge it, you know how we can.
I don't think it's critical mass, but I just.
Why do we have to bring it up?
Why put off till next meeting what we can do today? That's all.
You're right. All right, we're going to move to agenda item number 9, which is informational items, and we'll come back.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I hope to have a light bulb here next time.
It wasn't.
Getting harder and harder to see. Tomorrow at 3:45, we have celebration of the park upgrades at the main county park. Mr. Seeley has it's going to blink, but it does help me read. Constituent meeting at Shiloh Baptist on the 16th at 6:30, Mr. Seeley. We have the regional fire school starting Saturday morning at the high school on the 18th. I think, Mr. Thomas, you'll be our guest opening speaker, I think. Is that correct?
8 o'clock on Saturday morning?
Chief, what time is, pay attention. What time is fire school?
On Saturday morning?
Saturday morning, 8 o'clock.
You coming to get me, right?
We'll send somebody.
You want to be picked up at 6 o'clock.
Oh, Scott's laughing. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you please? Thank you.
Then he can sleep all the way.
Right.
Okay.
Chief, do we have to be at the opening to come to the dinner that night?
No.
So tomorrow at 3:45 is the
celebration park upgrades.
That's not on my thing.
Sorry. I forgot about it too. Somehow I thought it was next week, but. Mr. Seeley has a constituent meeting on the 23rd. St. James Baptist Church, that's at 6:30 as well. Our next board meeting then will be on the 28th, the following week, 6 p.m. There is a fire and rescue awards ceremony in replace of the banquet at the EOC on the 29th at 6 p.m. And then Mr. Seeley has another meeting on the 30th, 6:30 at Macedonia Baptist. And that's all I've got. And then April, the 11th is our regular board meeting. And that's all we have scheduled. You want to schedule some work sessions.
You're doing the public hearing on the 11th.
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to have to try to get that advertised as soon as we can.
We should have a work session. We could have a work session right after the public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah, which would leave that week of the 18th.
Yep.
No, not the same day.
No, not that
same day.
night. Tuesday, the 18th.
Yeah, maybe Tuesday the 18th.
My daughter's gonna be in town.
How long is she gonna be in town? The whole week?
She's leaving on the 20th.
Well, Friday's out.
Do it the next Monday or Tuesday.
25th, we don't have a meeting.
Correct.
Want to tentatively plan for the 25th, and then if we
That's fine. And the key really is on the 11th, after the 11th, we're not advertising any tax rate change. You could adopt the tax rates to then turn that over to the folks at
Commissioner of Revenue and Tax,
and they could get the tax bills out within hopefully a couple of weeks. And so whether we have what we need to do is be able to adopt a budget to give the schools an official number so that they can then do their budget, get it back to us in May, send their contracts out. So that's the only time.
We only have to wait 7 days when there's a tax increase.
No, you have to wait 7 days to adopt the budget. So
okay. All right, that'll work.
All right,
that'll
so
work. We do the
we're
25th.
tentatively plan the 25th, but you can recess out of the 11th into that. So long as you're not going earlier than the 11th, we don't need to recess tonight into another meeting.
Okay, and we could we'll all get to go by Nancy's house and meet her daughter on the 18th.
All right, a party.
All right, we need a date for the Farm Bureau. They wanted June, Mrs. Hall. I wanted June. Okay, I knew there was some reason why we were asking now. Well, June will be the perfect time to meet with the Farm Bureau. All the vegetables will be up by then.
Feed us something. That's right.
So
we got some
too
time
early
on
for
that.
you to look at June.
No, I just have to have a June calendar. June's a shot in the dark.
For everybody. June's an even month. We don't have a 27th meeting.
Our board meeting's on the 13th in June.
Right. We don't have a 27th meeting.
Yeah.
June 27th is a Tuesday. Look good.
Look good to me.
June 27th,
Where were you meeting them at?
probably Port Royal. No, you can just stay at Dalgar.
Do we know where they want to meet at, Mr. Colley?
I do not. I haven't had any capacity.
Yeah, the fire department.
Fire department Port Royal is where we've normally met.
No, they're trying to find a date to make sure. So we're giving them, this is the date we think we can meet with them. And then we'll go from there.
We'll relay that to them.
All right, that's good. Thank you. Closing board comments, Mr. Forehand.
None, sir.
Wait, we have no closed meeting, right? All right. Mr. Black, closing board comments?
None.
Mr. Seeley?
I have none.
Mrs. Long?
I have none.
Mr. Underwood?
None that I could make in public.
And I have none also. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Long. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Long. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.